everywhere. SAFM 104.4 FM in Durban.
This Thursday on EFC, Africa's greatest meet the warriors of Brazil on a night where 3 titles will be contested. Amanda Lino takes on Mariana Salles, Willy van Rooyen takes on Kleberson Sousa, and in the main event, JC Lamprecht goes to war with Luis Paulo Picanso for the light heavyweight title. EFC 123 live from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Now, were you one of those people who missed out on the Fly Safair 11 Rand flights today? I think my whole family tried to get those tickets, right? Well, it's a case of Akshay, don't worry. They're now running a 30% off flight sale until midnight tonight, which is just so lacquer. So if you schmuck, on-time arrivals, top-notch service, and loads of epic destinations, all that are lacquer, 30% off, then this one is for you. So KIF deals don't last long. Grab this one before it's all gone. Book now, flysafair.coza for travel until the 28th of March 2026. T's and C's apply.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
I tell you what, getting into the show, you wonder what are we going to talk about and what are we going to start talking about as the show begins. And then it all unfolds. Like an hour or two before the show, you got it. It's the move, the motion of no confidence against Joburg Mayor and the Joburg Speaker. And that motion being tabled by the DA. So there we are. We have a big story to talk about. This is the city. Remember, we often talk about it. We say if the USA catches a cold, rather sneezes, the whole world catches a cold. Well, I tell you what, if Joburg catches a cold, then in some way the whole of South Africa gets the flu because it has an impact on every one of us, whether you live in that city or you don't. So let's talk about that. My name is Ashraf Garda. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the National Pulse. Now, you can connect in many ways by listening already. That's fabulous. But other ways, you can tweet right away. Motion of no confidence, yes, no. What do you think about that? You can connect with us on that. You can call in and share your thoughts. You can WhatsApp, text, or voice note, as well as tweet us on, just to tag SFM Radio and myself. So let me not delay. I will tell you, however, voting begins today for the new Pope. And we'll talk about the story behind the story around that, the mechanics around it at about 3:20. Let's, however, talk about the motion of no confidence against the Joburg Speaker and the Joburg Mayor. Well, the DA confirming that it has tabled this motion of no confidence against the Joburg Executive Mayor Dada Morero and the Speaker of the Council, Nobutle Mchembu. Right, let's understand why, what's the story, and will they get it? Horisani Sitole with me, SABC News reporter on the scene. Horisani, I appreciate your time. As always, you're on the National Pulse.
Afternoon, Ashraf.
Thank you. So first things first, is this a surprise? Because, this comes up on a day where, effectively, the mayor is talking about the state of the city.
Yes, exactly, Ashraf. And what we're getting now, we got from the DA, is that they are not happy with the current leadership. They are saying that they don't see the city going anywhere. Come 2026, there will be no city for the residents. If they continue with this leadership, and we ask them, do you have the numbers? And they say they are claiming that they've been approached by some political parties complaining about the same things. And we also hear that they are even saying that there are even people within the ANC that are not happy with the current leadership.
All right, but not happy with the current leadership doesn't mean they're going to vote against it. What would it take, firstly, to be able to get that motion carried and have the mayor and the speaker removed?
You remember, Ashraf, that for the motion to be passed, you need numbers. So it means then there must be a specific number of people that are able to then vote for to go forward. But you remember, the city of Johannesburg has been having lots of machines. Even now, when Dada Morero started with his speech, he showed us pages of all the mayors that have been in office ever since the Democratic Party.
Okay, I'll tell you what, let me pause there. We're just losing you in terms of connectivity, and we don't want to miss a word of what you have to say. So let's get to Keith just to sort out your sound. In the meantime, let me say this much. In the context of the motion of no confidence, particularly against the mayor of Joburg has been rather busy. He's been delivering his State of the City address, and he talked today about many challenges. I think challenges that many of us who live in the city and people who come from outside who visit the city know all about. But he did say it's rather complex.
Our challenges are complex, and we don't have infinite resources. Alone, we will not solve these challenges. For instance, the city is not financially stable. Infrastructure is decaying, and service delivery backlogs have reversed the gains we have made. COVID-19 alone set us back by 10 years. As we stand here before you, our uppermost in our minds and driving our actions was to go back to the starting gates of our founding mayors, like Executive Mayor Amos Masondo. Distinguished guests, our love for Johannesburg help and propel us to partner with the national and provincial government, business, labor, and civil society.
Right. I mean, of course, he says a lot more. And what we're going to do, the plan is, in fact, to speak to the mayor of Joburg around 5:20. That's one thing. We'll also chat to the DA themselves about their motion of no confidence against the mayor and the speaker. And we accept the fact that today, some days on the show are far more fluid than others, meaning there's a plan A, plan B, plan C, and all of that can chop and change in a matter of minutes. So just bear with us, but that really is the plan. Let's go back then to the SABC reporter who's been covering the story in the first place, right? Horisani Sitoli, right? Hopefully on the battle line this time. So we were talking, we were talking earlier that as they choose to pass this motion of no confidence, I asked you about the numbers. What is required to actually remove the mayor and the speaker?
You remember, Ashraf, I think now I'm much better. So you need the vote of a certain percentage, but then the question has been, because the DA alone doesn't make that 50% that one needs. So how then do you move? Now then we posed the question to them: do you have the numbers? That's where they came to us to say we've got other political parties, including members of the ANC. But then, Ashraf, what we must look at now, it's the city of Joburg has been having lots of motions of no confidences. I mean, at some stage we even asked them, does this serve the interest of the residents of the city of Joburg? Even him, Morero, when he started his speech, he showed us different images of different people who have been there, even joked about him having been in office for some few days before he was thrown away. People will remember that. So it seems like it's also a problem. Then the question is also, why did they have to do it today?
Yes, and they said what? Why today?
They say is that because the interesting thing was, were they trying to undermine the state of the city address or not? They said no. Actually, the problem now is we represent the ratepayers, the residents of the city, so we're doing what's right for them. That's why we're bringing it here. Actually, we were delayed. Actually, we should have done it a long time ago. So we're hoping to see how it goes, but then they've assured us that they have enough numbers to can then table the motion.
Okay, help us understand this. I mean, the mayor himself has been delivering his address. Is it done with that at this point in time? And if so, that motion of no confidence, when does that vote actually then start?
So now it's still underway now as we speak. I just stepped outside to talk about it. So we're looking at having more update as to how do we move forward later on as soon as it's done. So that's where we can actually provide a further update as to which direction are we taking. But then, because you remember, Ashraf, now also the question of numbers. If they don't reach the numbers, then it may not materialize.
Okay. What about and the point that, let's say, yourself you made and maybe other journalists about, clearly they being they may not be wrong about their point that the city is falling down, so to speak, right? Having said that there's a sense of strategic opportunism about doing it on the same day that the mayor is delivering an address. What was their reply to that? I mean, how convincing were they?
Actually, I think that one may just zoom in, but I think what I should highlight now, Ashraf, it's even the mayor himself, when starting his speech, he did highlight that actually the city has gone back 10 years backwards in terms of what has been happening, but he's promising that he will deliver, but that's not what we're getting a sense from the side of the DA, is that they feel like it's the current leadership that's failing, but so now they seem to be very confident about that, but then one should have to see how then they maneuver and move forward.
Okay. What about those numbers? They say they've got the numbers. Let's take yourself. I mean, have you yourself and others been sort of doing some snooping around and have a sense that they do have the numbers to remove the mayor and the speaker?
At this stage, I think it's one has to see. You remember, politics sometimes can be very tricky and surprising, and it's a question of who gets what, who doesn't get what. And they even say that there are people who just want to go anonymous in this. They don't want to go into public. But one can only tell as time goes. It's not a long time ago that we heard about that, but one can only tell as time progresses as to how far can they go. And I mean, talking about even the people coming from the ANC, will they go? They have secret ballots or what? How are they going to then have the people voting them without then being in contradiction with what their party stands for?
Okay, just the last thing. The mayor, in delivering his State of the City address, would have known about the move to remove him, right? Did he, reference that in his talk at the moment, number one, and number two, has that in any way knocked his confidence? I mean, were we able to pick that up in terms of his delivery?
Actually, he seemed to be very confident, as I know that Amorero is one person who's always confident. Even when he was thrown out of the office the last time, he used to joke a lot about it, that actually I'm going back. Even this morning he was joking about how he was in the office for a few days. But then we're hoping that he may touch on that. But at this stage, he hasn't much focused on that. Actually, he's been focusing on the address itself, telling us the plans that they have, talking about the roads, trying to put tarring some gravel roads, and also electrifying informal settlements, and looking at reclaiming the city itself, and talking about how dirty it is and how they're gonna try to fight illegal occupations, and then all of those problems that we know to be problematic for the city of Joburg.
So you're saying he's confident no matter what, right? Okay, got that. Appreciate your time. It's certainly a story we're going to follow throughout the day. I've no doubt about it. Appreciate you giving up your time on this issue for now. But there you are. I mean, you got a sense of that. We have this position of a vote of no confidence in the mayor and the speaker on the same day, the same time that he's delivering a State of the City address. What do you make of that? And where does it come from? From the DA, suggesting that things are broken in the city of Joburg, which in Mayor himself admits that, but suggests they need more time to fix things up. So what do you make of that? And I understand that as we speak to you, we speak to the entire nation. Not everybody talks about the city of Joburg. We understand that absolutely. But having said all of that, what's key in this is
that's right, yes.
Whatever happens in Joburg
yes,
has an impact across the board, across the nation. So it will impact on your city, on your dorpie, on your village, wherever you are in the country, based upon what happens in the city of Joburg. This is the National Pulse.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matric mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
Cool catch! Elmo thinks Elmo's friends are great!
Thanks, Elmo! I like how you cheer and encourage your friends, son.
Elmo likes it too.
Elmo, you are special. Who you are matters
because we're all special.
Tune in to see what makes you special for the all-new episodes of Takalani Sesame, weekdays at 3 p.m. on SABC2.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
By the way, in about 22:04, we'll be chatting to Dr. Alan Busak on just a thought leader conversation about a whole range of issues that we want to pick his brains on, so don't miss that, right? But for now, you do know, I tell you what, whether you are a follower of the Christian faith or Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Rastafari faith, whether you're not just Christian, but not even just Catholic, but even just Anglican, I have no question or no doubt, or Protestant, that you'd be interested in what's happening at the Vatican. Because we do know that voting, I understand, will get underway today regarding the selection of the new Pope. And clearly it's an issue that has an impact, once again, globally, just because of the significance of it all, right? So let's do this. We are now going to talk about some of the stories behind the voting process. How does it work as these leaders, these cardinals, get into what is called a conclave, right? So with me is Father Rodney Moss, who's a retired Catholic priest at the Archdiocese for Durban and the former head of the theology department at the St. Augustine College. So Father Moss, appreciate your time and thanks for connecting to us on the National Pulse.
Good day. Hello, nice to meet you.
Thank you. I suppose when we talk about our National Pulse, there's no question now that people very close to the Catholic faith and the election of the Pope, it's a day where the pulses are racing in terms of looking at what's going to happen, because it is quite significant, right?
Yes, very much so. As you pointed out, in fact, for the whole world in many senses.
Yeah.
Because of the importance of the papacy.
Absolutely. Take us through the process. So we've had a Pope. There's been a loss of life a few weeks ago, right? What's the process now that is needed, that will take place to be able to elect a new Pope?
Well, for the last week or so, cardinals have been meeting together informally to discuss the matter, look at what the church needs. Remember that many of them are new cardinals and have not met, so it's been a very important process. Now, this afternoon, it will begin. The first voting will be later this afternoon. We do not expect anything to come from the first vote, but thereafter, every day there are 4 votes, 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. As you would have heard, if a candidate gets 2/3 majority, he is elected, and then of course we will see the white smoke. If a candidate is not elected in any of the elections, it's black smoke, but white indicates there's a new pope.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the 2/3 majority. So I take it only cardinals vote, right? Just help us with that. And why, when you say 2/3 majority, what stops the cardinals from voting by 2/3 today on that first vote to effectively confirm a new pope?
Yes, well, now I can't say it won't happen, but it would be most unusual because it usually works through a process of elimination. You see, so I expect that it will take. Normally, conclaves in the last many years, in the last century, and so on, have only been about 2 or 3 days. So we should get an answer before the weekend. I think we should have a candidate that emerges as Pope.
And help us understand this, right? I mean, if one is a cardinal sitting in that conclave, behind closed doors, and that person decides they want to choose, let's say yourself, for example, right? But as the new pope or elect you in terms of the vote, do you have to accept a nomination, or would you not even know about it? That means when these votes take place after the first round, is the first process that potential pope, if elected, has to first accept the nomination, or he would not even know about it?
No. He can decline. I mean, if somebody is elected outside the College of Cardinals, which is most unlikely, then there'd be a way of having to inform that person. But it's very, very likely that it's going to be one of the cardinals themselves.
Okay.
And so, therefore, they have to accept.
I take it then.
And then,
when was the last time, you may know, if a vote has been won by 2/3 on the very first vote? Because if it's highly unusual, then I take it that it's a highly contested election then.
Yes. As far as I know, it has never happened before. Well, since the introduction of the conclave, which goes back to about the 13th century, it's never happened before. So that's why I can say quite with some certainty that it's unlikely to happen this afternoon.
Okay. What about, the reasoning behind this conclave behind closed doors? So once they get into voting, as they will do today, whether it takes 1 day, 2 days, or sometimes I think it's even taken 2 years or many years ago, right? But let's say 2-3 days, that there's no access to the outside world and vice versa. What's the rationale behind that?
It is to make sure that there is no interference from the outside, because the cardinals are going into what is really essentially a spiritual exercise, so there must be no outside influence. In the past, there has been, and this is one of the reasons for the conclave, but not in recent years. As early as the beginning of the last century, the election of a pope could be vetoed by various Catholic monarchs, but that's long past. But it was to ensure that there is a secrecy and no outside influence at all.
Mm-hmm. And do these, potential candidates in this case, do they have a chance within the conclave to pitch their campaign, or do they not address the cardinals at all?
No campaign. The discussions have taken place before the conclave, you see. So there's no discussions, there's just voting. And certainly no campaigning.
Typically, what do they look for in voting or electing a pope?
Well, no, it varies at certain times in the history of the church. I don't know if you've heard of Bishop Barron. He's a very well-known radio and TV and a person who also produces many videos, highly respected. And I was just listening to him yesterday, and he said, we need a quiet papacy now. Said, we've had a lot of changes, good ones sometimes, which Pope Francis has introduced, and he thinks we need a quieter time now, but that's only his opinion.
I was going to ask you, what does that mean, quieter time?
Well, it means that to consolidate the work that has been done by Francis. In other words, to try and, to consolidate and make the church, or promote church unity, which has been a little bit frayed at the edges recently. And so it's to make sure that there's a more unified church in the future.
And lastly, do we have a favorite going into the actual vote?
Well, we'll have a couple of favorites. Cardinal Parolin was the Secretary of State and the Pope's right-hand man, and he's favoured by a lot of the bookkeepers, if you like. And then there's Louis Tagle, who is an Archbishop of Melilla, who's quite a favourite.
Okay.
So just giving you two, you see, but we don't know. Conclaves are very unpredictable. The last couple of conclaves, a person has emerged that we didn't think they would, you see. So it's very, very difficult to forecast.
All right. So, as we said, we'll look for the white smoke when that finally bellows out of those chimneys from the Sistine Chapel, I gather, right? Father Rodney Moss, much appreciate your time.
Yes.
Thank you for talking to us. Well, there we are. The voting starts, well, not quite now, but imminently so. Let's get the news headlines just gone 3:30.
Thank you, Ashraf, on the news headlines on SAFM. I am Mondela Mbana, and a very good afternoon. The DA's appeal to have the ANC's cadre deployment policy declared unconstitutional has been dismissed with cost by the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria. The almost 400 suspended Ekurhuleni Metro police officers have until this Friday to respond in writing to the pre-dismissal letters issued to them. And Port Sudan has come under drone attack for a fourth consecutive day. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 eastbound in Eldorado Park is closed between Klipsbreed Valley Road and Golden Highway due to a crime scene, so expect delays and diversions. The N12 eastbound in Boksburg is roadworks with traffic restrictions at Atlas Road, and the N1 northbound in Maritzburg has a crash before the Albertinus Sulu Road. In KZN, the N3 outbound has a crash before the M13 Paradise Valley exit. The N3 eastbound has a stationary truck at Ashburton. The M4 southbound has a truck crash reported as you approach the N2 highway. The road is closed, so expect delays and diversions. In Cape Town, the M5 northbound slow moving towards the N1 Kuburg interchange. The N1 inbound is queuing on Sable Road off-ramp and Victoria Road outbound, slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkhabele.
All right, Tumi, you have a cricket story to start with.
Yes, a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, Proteas women lost to India women today by 23 runs in the Women's ODI Tri-Series to make it 3 losses in the competition. India posted 337 for 9, and in reply, South Africa battled to 314 for 7 in their chase. Now, the result means that South Africa has now been knocked out of the tournament, and India will square off with Sri Lanka in the final. South Africa still has one more match to go, though, which is now a dead rubber against Sri Lanka on Friday. Meanwhile, pressure is piling for Rishabh Pant as Lucknow Super Giants fight to stay in the IPL playoff race. Bought for a record $3.21 million, Pant has struggled with the bat, scoring just 128 runs in 10 innings this season, and Lucknow need their skipper to rediscover his form very fast. In rugby, Springbok utility back Damian Willems has paid tribute to coaches Robbie Fleck and Paul Feeney for backing him early in his career as he approaches his 100th cap for the Stormers. Then the Cape Town Starborn has began his professional career surrounded by Springbok legends like Damian Dialendi, Siya Kolisi, Cheslin Colby, Eben Itzebeth, and Peter Steph du Toit. And Willems says that those world champions made a lasting impact on him as a young player.
I'd rather it happen now than in the world. Ibn, Chesney Colby, Dylan Nates, Damien, all the guys, in the early stages of my career who I've played with, pretty much all seniors.
And for us now, what we need to do after this Tri-Nation, we need to go back to the drawing board and make sure that we fill up all the gaps that we've identified during this series. And I think that's what's important for us now. As a new coach of this team, there's a lot of things that I needed to observe and see where the team is at under pressure. How do we deal with when we're on top, and how do we deal when we're under pressure? And there's been some magnificent stuff that I've picked up, and I think leading up to the World Cup we'll make sure that we leave no stone unturned, and we'll cover all those bases.
Right, apologies for the technical glitches that we're having here, but moving on to football, Amajita head coach Raymond Mdaka says that he is not getting carried away by his team's emphatic 4-1 win over Africa Cup of Nations under-20 Group A leaders Sierra Leone. Now, the win sees Amajita moving to second spot in the group with 6 points, just a point behind Sierra Leone, who have played all 4 of their matches. Next for Mdaka and his team will be a COSAFA derby against Zambia on Friday in Cairo, and to seal the qualification to last 8, they need to avoid a loss against the Zambians.
Yeah, you see, you always stick to the plan. We knew we are in a group of 5 teams, so the plan should be, irrespective of maybe getting the results, you need to play all the games, and you give respect to any other team that is there. And you could see we still need more because we lost 1 against Egypt, and for us to be sure of qualifying, so it means we'll still approach Zambia the same, with the same mentality, same attitude, same understanding of saying when we get inside the field of play, this is how we play. So we will do the same.
Elsewhere, Athletic Bilbao wingers Nico and Inaki Williams will both miss the second leg of the Europa League semi-final at Manchester United tomorrow night. Nico Williams was not included in the side squad today, and the 22-year-old also missed Sunday's La Liga game against Real Sociedad, while his older brother Inaki was taken off in the 62nd minute of the goalless draw. In the meantime, US President Donald Trump says that the opportunity for Russia to play at the 2026 World Cup could be an incentive to end the war in Ukraine. The Russian national football team has been banned from international competition by FIFA and UEFA since the country's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. And under current rules, Russia will not play at the World Cup being hosted by the US, Canada and Mexico. And finally, in athletics, World Athletics President Sebastian Coe says that preparations for the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo are in good shape. Coe was in the Japanese capital to meet the Tokyo governor and receive an update from organizers ahead of the World Championships that's set to be held in the city from the 13th to the 21st of September. And Coe also praised Tokyo organizers, saying that preparations are well on schedule. It is just 39 minutes after 3, and I did say we actually are giving away tickets to the Nedbank Cup final.
Nedbank Cup final. Yeah,
yes.
You did say that, yes.
Yes. So,
I thought the coronation of Mamelodi Sundowns winning the league as well. Maybe that day too, but let me keep quiet. Or the Champions League final. Let me keep quiet. But let's get to the Nedbank Cup final. Yeah.
So, we are giving away a set of tickets to the Nedbank Cup final, and I think we have an easy question to ask our listeners if they want to go there. So the question is, what is the record for the most number of Soweto derby matches in a single season?
You mean how many times have they played each other?
Yep.
League, knockout, the works?
Yes, in a single season.
6. Including the charity, what is it? The Iwisa charity, whatever it was called, the charity challenge from before. Yeah.
Do not give them the answer.
I'm just giving my guess.
Are you guessing?
Yeah, of course it's a guess.
Close, but not too close.
Right, so what do they need to do? They need to?
So they can send a WhatsApp voice note. They can send us a WhatsApp. You can call in if you want, but just give us the answer. What is the record for the most number of Soweto derby matches in a single season?
Tickets?
They get just 2. We're going to get one winner whoever gets the answer first will get those tickets.
Do it right away. Okay.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Well, question is, are you tuned into the National Pulse, and to what degree are you completely connected? Come on, let's get those winners to you. You have a good chance to get to Durban, right? Maybe you're in Durban already. Either way, you need to vote now. In the meantime, you won't hear this in the news headlines, but it's definitely worth talking about. Laureate, who's a 61-year-old woman, is a real OUTsurance client who switched and now saves a newsworthy 725 rands a month on a 2024 BMW XL. Now, that's 725 rands more money in her pocket every month. So why pay more when you could pay less? Get a quote from OUTsurance today and see how much they could save you on your car insurance. What do you need to do? SMS OUT to 30754. That's OUT 30754. With OUTsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP, T's and C's online.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Right, let's get into another issue that I think is, we will cover the story of the Joburg mayor effectively delivering on the state of the city on the one hand, but on the other hand, we'll also talk about the motion of no confidence and what that really means. But let's get to, Youth Month comes up imminently. It's a good time to talk about South Africa and youth and where we all fit in with that connection. And we're going to chat to Dr. Alan Boesak about that pretty shortly. So we'll get to him. Maybe a chance as we connect. Let's see if we can get some WhatsApp calls that I can take right away. In fact, what we do, we can do that right away. Just gives me a chance to tell you, I'm amazed. I mean, I had a call today from a friend of mine to say, "Hey, Ashraf, you had these interviews. Can you share the podcast with me?" Yes, I can share the podcast with you, but I'm also telling you that the best way to get all the podcasts without even depending on me is simply go to the SAFM website, safm.co.za. Quite simple. Then you get, /podcast/ the National Pulse. You get all the interviews we've done yesterday and we'll do today, including the one with Alan Boesak that we're going to get to right away, right? So that's the simplest way to do just that. Right, let's get back then to the issue for the moment around Youth Month as we look ahead to that next month and South Africa's state of affairs. So the anti-apartheid activist and human rights advocate is Dr. Alan Boesak, and he talks to us now, really a thought leader conversation on many issues that you think we need to talk about. One of them is the issue of the Trojan Horse Massacre. Do you know about it? Belgravia, Athlone, that region in Cape Town. That happened 40 years ago. How many people know about it? 3 students died, several others injured. Do we actually highlight that and look at the lessons learned from that? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. With me, Dr. Alan Boesak, anti-apartheid activist, but also now the chairperson of the Walter and Albertina Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice. Dr. Boesak, good to connect with you once again. Thanks for being with us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good to talk to you again, and good afternoon to all your listeners.
Thank you. Now, it is very much a thought leader conversation, so we go wherever. I'm looking at your shirt, and in many ways, it's a white shirt and it's got a yellow tab, and I'm trying my best to understand from a fashion perspective. And these tabs are all very, very multicolored, which closely resembles what you would talk about as the Rainbow Nation, which is a very nice segue for me to talk to you about the Rainbow Nation. What's the state of the Rainbow Nation?
The Rainbow Nation was a warm and very welcome wish at the time, but it remained that. It was more wishful thinking than reality, I'm afraid. It also lulled us into a false sense, I should say, of security and of certainty that our reconciliation process actually was real and that it actually worked. While we now have to be very honest about it and open, if we want to save it, if we want to try again, we will have to understand that it was not the success that we had claimed to be and that the world had enthroned us with, so to speak. So the word, the Rainbow Nation, conjures up the deep desires of South Africa's people to really be a socially cohesive, more united, more democratically endued, more empowered nation. But I'm afraid it never really came to fruition.
Okay, and maybe we'll talk about that a bit more in detail, but it brings me back to the issue of the youth and the sacrifices that many have made. Now, you know, I referenced the issue of the Trojan Horse massacre, right? Let's talk about that and your understanding of what happened.
Well, it was 1985, so first of all, to remember, it was the United Democratic Front was 2 years old, in full bloom, almost, so to speak, right across the country, but very especially so in the Western Cape and on the Cape Flats. The young people were very much involved. That started in 1976. The unique characteristic of that particular phase of the revolution towards freedom for South Africa, driven by the youth taking not just part in it, but giving leadership in it, steering the direction of things in so many, many ways, and laying their lives on the line, making sacrifices that I still think back on it as absolutely miraculous and wonderful and still very, very humbling. And so and the second thing was that it was in the middle of the first state of emergency that the South African apartheid government had announced in an effort to break the back of the internal resistance. So in that state of emergency, almost like martial law, some may well remember the police were given a blank check, the army were given a blank check, they were all over the township, they were present, they could do whatever they want. By the time we got to the beginning of the second state of emergency in 1987, we will have 40,000 people in prison detained without trial, 40% of them children under 18 years old. And so that participation of the youth came to a head in many places, but in Athlone, in October, I think, of that year, we had the Trojan Horse incident where the police had camouflaged themselves, had hidden in a truck. I think it was an orange post office kind of truck that they used. And so they knew that if they would come with a police van or with a Nala or with a Casper in those days, it would be immediately recognizable. And the reaction of the young people always was to try and make sure that the police understand this is not what we want, you are not what we want in our streets. And so they would attack those vans with stones sometimes, or they would protest and scream against. This time, they camouflaged themselves, they hid in boxes on the truck, and when the kids started to react to their presence, the police all of a sudden and the army all of a sudden rose from their hiding places and shot live ammunition at the protesting children on the streets, and as a result, 3 of them died and many of them were injured.
Okay. I mean, that's
because of the nature of that thing. We call it the Trojan Horse.
Okay, I've certainly got shades of Troy and that horse being able to get through to the gates of Troy and doing what they did. We're talking about old Greek mythology there, right? Let's then talk about this, you know, in terms of the resistance that happened amongst the youth of the Cape Flats in that region, you know, Athlone, Belgravia, and what happened that day. Is it commemorated to any degree to the level that it should? That means the respect that it deserves.
Not at all, Ashra, and that's why I'm so very, very encouraged and happy that this year it seems to me that some churches, some organizations in our civil society here in the Cape, some youth organizations have come together and made a very firm decision that they are going to celebrate and commemorate Soweto Youth Day and the participation of the Western Cape youth specifically in that struggle 40 years ago, because very, very few people even know the history. It is not celebrated in the way that it should be. Soweto has become, in many ways, more of a pointer to a location in Johannesburg, a place, instead of the way in which we understood it then. So for us in those days, Soweto was not a place, it was more of a condition. So a condition of oppression, a condition of resistance, and that condition was something that all of the country's youth had embraced to an extent that we have not yet seen ever before in our history.
Okay, let's talk about...
That is what makes...
I want to talk about a talk you're going to give soon and overall the condition of South Africa as it stands. We'll do that in a moment.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. that's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Bafana want to seal their envelope to East Africa with a paramount victory in front of their home fans. But the Flames plan to double the heat. This is the second leg of the final round of the Total Energies CAF Chan 2025 qualifiers. South Africa tackles Malawi on Sunday, 11 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Cool catch! Elmo thinks Elmo's friends are great!
Thanks, Elmo!
I like how you cheer and encourage your friends, son.
Elmo likes it too.
Elmo, you are special. Who you are matters
Because we're all special.
Tune in to see what makes you special for the all-new episodes of Takalani Sesame. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on SABC2.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, we're chatting for another few minutes with Dr. Alan Busak about reflecting on many things, South Africa. So let's then talk about, you are going to give a talk. Tell me why the talk, on behalf of who, and where, so we don't slip up on this, yeah?
So the talk is at the invitation of, as I said, some churches and some civil society organizations, youth organizations, who want to commemorate and celebrate June 16th in a very special way this year. Special also because the emphasis will be on the role of young people from the Western Cape, from the Cape Flats specifically, because there has built up over the last 30 years almost an exclusion of the role of the young people of the Western Cape in what happened during the 1970s and the 1960s. And so many young people have no idea as to what Youth Day actually stands for. They have no idea of the role that they, young people, have played in it, and therefore have no idea how they could respond to the issues and the challenges facing young people in South Africa today. So we're going to talk about all of those things. I have a thing that I used to say. I'm very emphatic on the role of the youth and what they did and how incredibly heroic that has been. Not to play off this generation against that generation, but to say to our young people, remember, that's where you come from. That is your DNA. That's what you fall back on when you say, what is it that I, as a young person today in South Africa, can do? What is it that I have to look forward to? What is it that I must engage in order to bring about the changes that I so desperately want?
Okay, just quickly, this talk will be delivered on Youth Day. Have I got that right?
On Youth Day. On Youth Day, and it's going to be delivered in a very special symbolic place in the Dulcie September Memorial Hall in Athlone, and that's another point of reference that we're going to talk about. Not many people remember Dulcie September, not remember how heroic she was, what a special role she played as a woman in the history of the African National Congress in our struggle, how she was assassinated, who was involved in that assassination, how people reacted to her and to her forceful personality as a woman in a very patriarchal organization. And so all of those things are going to be discussed, I hope, on that day.
Right, we've got about 4 minutes remaining. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and effectively we only have time for one line per question. Just quick thought. What do you make of the looking at certain aspects of the TRC?
I think it's important that we have to relook at certain aspects of the TRC. We need reconciliation on a far deeper, far more fundamental level. I detest the fact that the president wants to use the TRC's failure to bring to book the apartheid criminals in terms of the human rights abuses. And to use that now to return to a subject that they should have given attention to, not just then in the 1990s, but subsequently. And I see this more as an effort to distract us from the difficulties that the African National Congress and the president himself might be facing at this particular time. Okay. So you take people attention away from your own troubles today to redirect them to 40 years ago. That is a game that I don't think we should be playing.
Okay. Your pronouncement on the GNU.
You know my pronouncement on the GNU. The fact that the GNU is stumbling forward and is only kept alive because of the instructions of the capitalist class in South Africa tells you everything you want to know. That they have not yet been able to gain the confidence and the trust of the people is not surprising to us at all. We told them this a year ago, and now we see it more clearly than ever before.
Okay, yesterday we had the new Canadian leader, Prime Minister, effectively telling Donald Trump that my country is not for sale. How should South Africa deal with Donald Trump?
I think South Africa should deal with Donald Trump by beginning to stand upon our dignity as a people. We should realize that the United States is still the empire running the world. It is an incredibly powerful country, but we should also let Donald Trump understand it is no longer the unipolar world that he imagines it to be. The United States is not the only thing that happens anymore. There has been a move towards a multipolar world. BRICS is there. There is a new alignment from countries of the global south, not just economically, but geopolitically as well, psychologically as well. We should look for other ways in which to make our connections, to broaden our relationships, to deepen our relationships with countries other than the United States of America, which is a very, very volatile, very uncertain entity and very dangerous entity right now at the moment.
Okay.
So we should be much more proactive than we are.
Right. Proactive. Let's talk about the lack of proactivity on this one here. Why have we got the inequality factor so wrong?
Because we have embraced with far too much enthusiasm, with far too less and little critical thinking, the policies of neoliberal capitalist thinking. We knew that it was a disastrous policy for people across the global south. We saw what countries of the rich north have done with it in terms of extracting from countries like ourselves and other countries in Africa and the third world, and still we followed that. I think it was a fundamental mistake, and one of the foundational critical fault lines that will be following us, and we need desperately a rethink of our economic policies. Social inequalities causing social incohesion and difficulties of racialized problems and unemployment, especially with young people, is something that South Africa should begin to rethink again. And that's one of the things that we are doing as we gather the people's consensus towards a popular convention where we will voice not just our disquiet about the situation, but a new vision for South Africa as well. And I think all of that is desperately needed.
Okay, we're on to news time as you talk about popular conventions. So I'll give you 30 seconds to answer this one. Of all the things, if you have the power, what's the one thing you would effect change in South Africa with that you could do immediately? Just a 30 seconds.
Change the economic policy.
That's it.
Change our economic policy from neoliberalism to a more broadly inclusive, social, democratic, socialist-driven economic policy. That is something that can begin to address immediately all of the issues that are some of the most challenging situations that South Africa is facing right now.
Okay, and that's where we can leave it. Dr. Alan Boesak, you have spoken, and we'll get the nation now speaking, responding to your comments here on the National Pulse. Much appreciate your time once again on the show. Let's get the news now. Let's just go on 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Ashraf. Top stories at 4. The DA's appeal on cadre deployment dismissed, and Port Sudan hit with more drone attacks. For SAFM News, I am Ondilambana, and a very good afternoon. The DA's appeal to have the ANC's cadre deployment policy declared unconstitutional has been dismissed with costs by the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria. The party, which sought leave to appeal to this SCA on the grounds that the appellate court will reach a different conclusion, argued that the long-standing policy was at the root of failure in state-owned enterprises. The court, in its judgment, however, found that the DA failed to demonstrate compelling reasons for the granting of leave to appeal. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme says it will review the decision it took last month to cancel accommodation funding for students living in unregistered residential properties. NSFAS was grilled by the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education in Parliament about its decision. Acting CEO Wasim Karim says after receiving several complaints from students, they have realized that there is a need to relook their decision.
I think what we can say is that we recognize the challenge that has been caused both by the value as well as the timing of the decision on the cap on unaccredited accommodation. We will go back and review that. In any event, we are receiving a number of complaints around it. Of course, these decisions have financial implications, so we will assess those financial implications. But we do commit that the current situation is not sustainable.
Close to 300 million rand has been set aside to electrify informal settlements in the Johannesburg Metro. The City of Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero was delivering his State of the City address in Braamfontein. Morero says provision of electricity in informal settlements is a priority.
The electrification of informal settlements remains a top priority, with a 296 million allocation focused on connecting to the grid areas such as Diepsloot, Orange Farm, Ivory Park and Kaya Sands. This initiative will provide safe and legal electricity access to thousands of households, integrating them into the urban energy system and laying the groundwork for service upgrades and formalization.
The almost 400 suspended Ekurhuleni Metro police officers have until this Friday to respond in writing to the pre-dismissal letters issued to them. The 389 officers were suspended for participating in an illegal strike where they blocked highways using state vehicles in March this year. They were protesting over increased pay and improved working conditions. The city's Phakamile Mbengashe says the pre-dismissal process is to allow fair representations from the workers and as well as assessing each case on its merits and level of remorse demonstrated.
The city also issued a strong warning against threats targeting officers who continue to report for duty, escalating these incidents to the SAPS and the Hawks for investigation. Mayor Xhakaza reaffirmed the city's commitment to law enforcement, public safety, and constructive dialogue within labor forums.
Port Sudan has come under drone attack for a fourth consecutive day. The attacks on the wartime capital and a key humanitarian hub mark a new front in a 2-year conflict between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces. The BBC's Barbara Platt-Asher has the details.
Explosions were heard in Port Sudan Wednesday morning, and a witness saw a cloud of smoke coming from the direction of the Flamingo Naval Base. The army said it had intercepted drone strikes there, but previous attacks have hit a power station, a military base, a fuel depot, and the international airport. On Tuesday, Sudan's military-led government cut diplomatic ties with the United Arab Emirates, accusing it of supplying drones to the rapid support forces. The UAE denies this, and the RSF has not directly commented on this week's attacks.
Recapping the top story, the DA's appeal to have the ANC's catered deployment policy declared unconstitutional has been dismissed with costs by the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria. I am Wandela Mbana for SAFM News Headlines at 4:30.
And coming up in your sports this hour, over 50,000 tickets sold for Nedbank Cup final despite 49,000 seat limit for what the latest casualty in Colombo Heat, and Mackenzie keen to bring Live Golf to South Africa. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound in Bedfordview, queuing on the link to the N12 east at Giluli's interchange. The N12 eastbound in Eldorado Park is closed between Klipspruit Valley Road and Golden Highway due to a crime scene, so you are to expect delays and diversions. And the N12 westbound has a stationary vehicle at the N1 Diepkloof interchange. In KZN, the M7 St. John's Avenue slow moving through central Pinetown, the M7 eastbound queuing at South Coast Road, and the N3 outbound queuing towards Pavilion Shopping Centre exit. In Cape Town, Bakengracht Street outbound slow moving towards the elevated freeway, Voortrekker Road eastbound slow moving through Maitland, and Kommetjie Road northbound queuing towards Capri. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Do great solutions start with good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Outsurance knows South Africans are feeling the pinch, so you've been looking for ways to save money. You could cut corners with things like that coffee brand you love. Or you could go the easy way, where you could save money on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Let's hear what real Outsurance clients have to say.
I saved 455 Rand. It was quick and easy.
I'm saving 411 Rand a month. Outsurance helping me save money.
That saving is actually saving my paycheck. Leave all the insurances and come to Outsurance.
It was fast, easy, and he gave me the best quote. My savings is 644 Rand. Come join Outsurance and save some money.
Make today the day you switch and save. And SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Not all MBAs are created equal. At Henley Business School Africa, we deliver career growth and advancement that goes beyond borders. As South Africa's only global business school, our internationally accredited MBA connects you to 100,000 alumni in 155 countries. Ranked #1 in the world by The Economist for alumni network power, Henley is your gateway to a global career and the confidence to lead anywhere. Ready to make your mark? Visit henleysa.ac.za.
Bafana want to seal their envelope to East Africa with a paramount victory in front of their home fans. But the Flames plan to double the heat. This is the second leg of the final round of the Total Energies CAF Chan 2025 qualifiers. South Africa tackles Malawi on Sunday, 11 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
You know, I think more than anybody else, the Springbok rugby coach, Rassie Erasmus, introduced this concept of the bomb squad, like a planned team that comes in late in the game that effectively bombs out everybody else and just overpowers them. And it's brought the Springboks great success, great annoyance to the opposition, but it certainly has given the Boks what they want, which is 2 successive World Cups. Now, why do I say that? Because I'm going to some of the notes of the Joburg Mayor regarding his State of the City address, and we'll talk to him hopefully around 5:20. And one of the things that Dada Morero has spoken about is the introduction of a bomb squad in the city, because it warrants that. The city is so broken. So that's an interesting one. I wonder what you make of that. We'll look at some of the other issues that comes out of that talk that is delivered in the course of the show. Let's, however, talk in a moment about an important issue regarding findings. You may remember this. Of course you do remember it. The 8 members of the Deputy President Paul Mashathile's VIP Protection Unit cleared of charges by the SAPS. We'll focus on that in a moment. But before we get there, well, make a note of this. If you've missed out on Fly Sefe's 11 Rand flights today, then what do? Well, shame, don't worry. Well, they're now running a 30% off flight sale until midnight, which is just as lekker. So, if you schmark on time arrivals, top-notch service and loads of epic destinations, call at a lekker 30% off. All of that happens 30% off if you do so today. What do you need to do? KIF deals don't last long, you know that, so you need to grab this one before it's all gone. Book now at flysafair.coza for travel until the 28th of March 2026. But it expires today, you know that, right? T's and C's apply.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Well, you may remember the story of the VIP officers that were protecting South Africa's Deputy President Paul Mashatile, right? Somebody reminded me, please tell the people, the listeners, we will take your WhatsApp messages and calls as soon as we can, right? We had to have that extended conversation with Dr. Alan Busak. I'm just making the point. Now, those 12 VIP protection officers, they faced legal charges including pointing a firearm, reckless and negligent driving, malicious damage to property, assault with the intent to cause grievous bodily harm, obstruction of justice, and assault by way of threat. There was so much that they faced, right? The story is now that they've been cleared of these charges by the South African Police Service. That's part of an internal disciplinary process. Naturally, there's reaction, and there's certainly reaction across the board. Well, what about a significant reaction from the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police, and I'm referring to Ian Cameron, who has stated now that he will write to the Police Minister, Senzo Mchunu, to seek clarity. Basically, I get it that he's not happy. So let's find out exactly why with Ian Cameron, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police. Appreciate your time. Ian, thanks for connecting to us here on the National Pulse.
Hi there. Thank you very much. Thank you for speaking on this very important issue.
Thanks. So I understand you're going to write to the Police Minister for clarity. That could well be an understatement. It sounds like you're not very happy.
Yeah, I think it really is a very shameful moment for the South African Police Service. It's an indictment on them, and I think, you know, it sends a very, very dangerous message to the public that South African Police Service members, especially those attached to elite units like Presidential Protection Services, could act with impunity and that they're above the law. So shameful to say the least, and it's critical for us to understand how on earth they could have been acquitted of the disciplinary charges against them.
But in expressing your concern, what did you find? I know it was an internal investigation, but what did you find that, you know, was an anomaly or irregular? Why I'm saying that, because, you know, clearly there's a case of justice needs to be taking its course, and one can't poke into things unless you're really there.
Yeah, so look, if you look at the letter that was sent to Action Society after they launched a fire application to determine what the status of the disciplinary was, it was firstly indicated the acquittal already happened on the 7th of April of this year, which tells us that it's more than a month later and SAPS management didn't actually know about it, because yesterday the response from the South African Police Service management was that the National Commissioner would study the outcome as given by the chairperson of the disciplinary hearing. So it tells me that there's no centralized system where they monitor the critical cases of this kind. That's issue number one. Issue number two, if you go through this letter of Action Society, it indicates quite a bit of challenges regarding union representation. And this is something I would like to stand still on, because it seems to me like sometimes unions confuse their role as being there for fair labor practice versus being defendants or defenders of criminal cause or criminal cases. Because it seems to me as though they are dead set on defending this type of behavior instead of rather than, making sure that justice still prevails, but that fair labor practice occurs.
Well, I'm quoting you, and you saying the acquittal of the members is not only a miscarriage of justice, but also puts the name and the image of the South African Police Service into disrepute. Furthermore, this decision strengthens the public perception of the SAPS officers being and acting above the law. I mean, that's very, very strong in terms of your comments, because effectively, in simple terms, you're suggesting you have no confidence in it. It's a vote of no confidence in the SAPS, isn't it?
Well, it's a vote of no confidence in the disciplinary process of the SAPS. It's not the first time that something like this happens. I mean, last year we saw that a very senior general attached to crime intelligence, specifically in the Western Cape, was actually had his dismissal withdrawn and was allowed to come back. And if it were not for the portfolio committees zooming in on the specific matter, he wouldn't actually have been finally dismissed once again. So many, many more examples of this kind. So I must be very honest, after this result, I have lost quite a bit of faith in the disciplinary process, and it would be critical for us to not only reconsider disciplinary regulation of the South African Police Service, but also other parts of legislation regarding the South African Police Service Act, because it clearly indicates to us that they don't have the adequate control of the process.
And in writing to the police minister, I mean, what are your expectations? What do you want to see happen?
Look, I can tell you now from experience with the current Minister of Police that he would not welcome an outcome like this. I cannot imagine it. I've seen him communicate on these types of issues, and I think it would be a matter on which he would likely feel quite similar to how I feel. What we would like to see is the feedback on how on earth this could have happened, why was it not monitored adequately, and furthermore, why more wasn't done to ensure that justice actually prevailed. It also seems to us like there was a shortage of witnesses testifying in the matter from the victim's point of view. So we would also like to get to the bottom of that. Why were there so many witnesses on behalf of the police members, but not on behalf of the actual complainants?
Okay, just lastly, help us understand this, because I think many people listening would find it all complex. You have the Minister of Police, you have a police commissioner, then you have yourself, who's the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police. So what is the work that you do, and how are you able to influence what happens within the ministry or not?
Yeah, so there are two specific parts. The first is legislative, so we can bring new legislation or legislative amendments, and the second part is an oversight role of the executive, and that would obviously then in our case include the South African Police Service, the Hawks, IPID, CIRA, and the Police Civilian Secretariat, which includes the Minister's Office. So our job is then to hold them to account. It's difficult to do it for every single individual matter because you can create a precedent that you become a complaints office. But in this case, I think it's a matter that's already been precedented by the South African Police Service, and we've seen a dangerous trend, and that's why we're zooming in on it.
And in terms of that oversight role that you play, what then would be your relationship between yourself and the Minister of Police, for example?
So, I mean, we obviously, if there are matters that we need to engage on in between committees, etc., we would do that. But simply speaking, we would, if we notice something like this, speak to the minister's office, whether it's to him or someone else in his office. We would write to them. We would ask for the relevant feedback in X amount of time, and then we would follow up on that if we don't receive it. If we are not happy with the feedback, we are then we then have the liberty of being able to summons or firstly invite the relevant persons to the committee to give feedback to the committee in person. And you must remember, once that committee sits, you are under oath. Very, very important to emphasize that you cannot then tell lies or anything like that. We have had a few problems regarding this. There are matters being followed up at the moment regarding certain untruths having been told in the past, not by the minister, but by certain other individuals. And it's very important to understand that it's quite similar to what you would have when you speak in a court of law. Even though it's not a court, it's important to understand that the institution has that power.
Okay, and that's where we will leave it. Appreciate your time. Ian Cameron, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police, and best wishes with your letter to the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu. It's a strange world we live in when we talk about the acquittal of the VIP officers of Paul Mashatile and many outrage. Certainly, in this case, Ian Cameron saying it's a miscarriage of justice. What do you say about it? This is the National Pulse.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Save and win a car with Spar, for real! Stand to win one of 50 fiery red Hyundai Grand i10 sedans. Buy any participating products and swipe your rewards card to enter. Get Cadbury Crunchy Lunch Bar or 5-star chocolate bars, any two for 22 Rand, plus 50 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 175 gram Protex soap, any two for 24 Rand, plus 50 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Prices valid until 19 May while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
I tell you what, of all the surprises in the world, and you just know that South Africa is quite a remarkable country, there was a meeting that took place between, firstly, the Afrikaner Leadership Network on the one hand, and then other political parties, one of them being the ANC. But the significant one is the meeting was facilitated between the ANC and the Afrikaner Network, facilitated by the PAC. Now, I say that's quite remarkable. If you just know South Africa's history, you'll understand why I say that. Let's get the thoughts then of the PAC Secretary General, who's Apa Puel. Appreciate your time and thanks for connecting to us here on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Afan. Good afternoon to all your listeners.
All right, let's be clear about this. Your party facilitated a meeting. Was it a meeting between the PAC and the ANC on the one hand, and on the other hand, the Afrikaner Network, or was it just the ANC and the Afrikaner Network facilitated by the PAC?
No, it was the meeting. It was a joint meeting of all of us, but of course facilitated by PAC. That means we are all sitting together in one meeting. Okay,
why you felt the need to facilitate this meeting?
The PAC immediately after the last national election embarked on a program to meet all communities in South Africa, to meet all social movements, and including political parties and NGOs, and also the slogan groups throughout the country. So as part of that, we had also met with Afrikaner Network, which is formed by different Afrikaner groupings. And in our engagements, we were trying to understand how they would want to see the country and how do they see the PAC, how can we better improve our relations and work together as we are working together with all other groupings in the country. As a result of that, we developed a working relationship with them, and so that we could understand a lot of things. Even during the Bella debacle, we talked to them because we were part of a GNU clearinghouse, so we wanted to understand their point of view. as to why do they reject that and all of that. But this background that I'm giving is because you asked as to how it came to be.
I understand.
It came as a result of a relationship that we have developed over a number of months. And during the Red Impulse, we realized that this particular group has not been engaged adequately, and we engaged them. And then when we were engaging with the ANC, we raised the issue that the ANC should continuously also engage this group. You would have known of the trip that they've taken to USA and many other things that they had done. So we thought it's important that we need to meet and discuss these things and understand their point of view, rather than just listening to these things over the media.
Okay, I got that now. I mean, you talk at a time when some of these representatives from AfriForum and Solidarity went to the USA, and one of the issues in the lead up to that was that they were saying that the ANC is not listening to them. They've made representations to the ANC to have a chat with the president, and he's not listening to them. And then subsequently, many people have felt that considering how they've lobbied against the current situation in South Africa abroad, that one shouldn't even be talking to them at all. In fact, they should be arrested. Now, constitutionally, we know that can't be the case. But did you see then benefit in talking to them? What came out of it?
Yes, there's great benefit. You cannot shut down the dialogue. Dialogue is always important. Remember, one of the tenets of the statement of intent is that we are later going to have a dialogue as South Africans, and this dialogue will not exclude anyone. And Afrikaner group are also South Africans, by the way. They deserve to be heard, they deserve to be engaged, and we believe that closing door against them does not assist the country. So it is on that basis that we initiated this meeting.
All right. What about, give us some names, I mean, if you can, very quickly. Who were the people representing the PAC, the Afrikaner Network, and the ANC?
The African Network was represented by AfriForum, Solidarity, Afrikaner Bond, the South African Agric Institute, SAII. They claimed the entire group to be representing almost 2 million of Afrikaners in this country, but they were very clear that they did not represent all Afrikaners there. Those Afrikaners will be not associated with them. So we accepted that. From our side, we had the PAC president being present. I was there also. Also members of the National Executive Committee of the PAC, I think we were about 7. The ANC was also represented by its first Deputy Secretary General.
Okay.
And yes.
All right. What came out of it? I mean, what's the end goal now? So you come out of the meeting. What have you taken out of it?
We have agreed that it's not going to be just a one-off event, because there's been a lot of issues that have been simmering for a long time, so we wouldn't be able to deal with all of those issues that they go in one day. The meeting was very robust, and we discussed a lot of things, but it is a continuous process. So at this stage, we are still going to meet further, and after that, we'll make announcement to the rest of South Africa.
Was the fundamental issue addressed, which is that many of these Afrikaner bodies, like on the one hand, AfriForum and Solidarity, believe that the current policies of government are anti-Afrikaner and to a large degree anti-white, and they're prejudiced against them, and therefore they are loggerheads with each other, and they have to protect themselves because there's an attempt to undermine them completely from the current institutions in South Africa. Has that been addressed?
Obviously, there are a lot of concerns, and as you've correctly pointed, some of these things that are already in the public domain. But we were very broad. We were not just dealing with these issues that we have raised. But as I said, I would be very hesitant to go into details of everything, except to tell South Africans that there's a process that is going on. Let's give it some space. We have agreed that we need to resolve these issues quickly so that we can make proper announcements to South Africans. At this stage, it is still too early to make any pronouncement on these issues.
Okay, but finally, can we say that this meeting will effectively bring the PAC and the ANC and these Afrikaner bodies with the Afrikaner network closer together?
We will not confine the discussion. As I said, importantly from the statement of intent for the GNU is that South Africans need to have a dialogue, and that dialogue involves everybody. And Afrikaner grouping are part of the communities in South Africa, so they will also be engaged, but it is not limited to them, or we do not meet with them in isolation from the rest of other communities in South Africa.
That's where we can leave it, sir. That's Apapue, the PAC Secretary General. Now we should be getting to the news headlines now, but the President, Ramaphosa, is currently talking, and let's pick up that talk live.
Of stagnant economic growth, as well as rising unemployment, and particularly as we were emerging from the era of state capture. When I addressed a joint sitting of Parliament in October 2020, I said, in the aftermath of a fire, green shoots often begin to emerge. The ashes, I continued to say, enrich the soil and new life takes root to replace what was lost. This is often what happens in nature and in life. And over the past 4 years, we have seen the green shoots of economic reform sprouting out. Through far-reaching reforms in the electricity sector, we have substantially reduced the severity as well as the frequency, and many of us will testify to this frequency of load shedding, relieving a constraint on growth which had strangled our economy for years. And the electricity challenge that we faced was of a special type, of an extraordinary type, that made South Africans very angry, frustrated, and dejected in many, many ways, because the resource they had become accustomed to, continuous electricity, had been taken away from them. I remember once coming back from a sea fishing trip, as I got off the boat, a young boy in Cape Town said, "Mr. President, can I talk to you?" He was like 6, 7 years old. And I said, "Yes, you can." And he said, "Can you please bring electricity back?" And I said, "Why?" He says, "Because I want to watch my shows on TV." So it had had an overarching impact on the lives of ordinary people. Now, these reforms that we embarked upon have enabled investment in energy generation, have also unlocked billions of rands in new investment in renewable energy in every part of the country, but more especially in the Northern Cape, the largest landmass province of our country and the smallest population, which had anemic economic growth, is now seeing enormous growth as billions have been pouring in an area which Dr. Ramokgopa describes as the highest radiation place in our country. We have embarked on a major reform of our ports as well as the rail system through the freight logistics roadmap. We have opened the rail network to competition, to involvement of players by others, and invited the private sector to participate in our port terminals on a concessionary basis, while ensuring that our network infrastructure, yes, remains owned by the state. Now, the completion of the spectrum auction enabled significant investment in telecommunications, and billions of rands also flowed into the fiscus through the auction process, a process which is done by a number of countries around the world. But that has also improved network quality in our country and has also led to the reduction of data costs for every South African. Although our data costs are still on the high end, they still need to be brought down so that we are on par with many other countries where data costs are not extremely expensive. The water use license system, which once served as a barrier to investment, particularly because those who sought to utilize our water, who needed the permits, had to wait up to 3 years, also needed some reforms. Now that system works efficiently and has allowed projects in forestry, in mining, in manufacturing, and a number of other sectors to proceed. So these are some of the reforms that have been engendered by this Vulindlela process. As of last year, we have implemented an entirely new framework for skilled visas to attract investment and encourage businesses to establish themselves in our country and to create jobs. We've been able to attract those with money, with skills, to have much easier entry into our country through our visa system. All of this progress has been made possible thanks to the cooperation and commitment of relevant government departments. One of the key achievements that we continue to make is to continue breaking down the silos in government and to enable governments to, departments to work together and to enable colleagues to walk away from this mentality of doing things on their own, in their own little corners, to work together. And this is what Vulindlela has been able to achieve. To also bring state-owned enterprises into the realms of working together with government, as well as social partners like business, as well as unions. Now, I commend in particular our ministers, our deputy ministers, our directors general, and our CEOs and various other officials who have provided leadership to these efforts. And leadership is what they have provided, because it is often difficult for people to strip away this silo mentality and start working together in an integrated manner. Over the last 4 years, Operation Vulindlela has become a government-wide initiative. When it started, to be honest, there was quite a bit of reluctance because people had become accustomed to doing their own things in their own ways, in their own departments, and with their own officials as ministers and with directors general, with their own staff. But through Vulindlela, that is one of the key achievements. We've been able and succeed, and we are continuing to succeed, to break down the walls and to get everyone to work together. This is meaningful progress, and it will enable higher growth and higher government capacity, or better government capacity, in the years to come. But much as we are doing all this, our economy continues to be held back by a number of structural inefficiencies, and may I add, a number of regulatory inefficiencies, and of course a number of practice inefficiencies as well, such as the way we work, such as the problems, as Minister Godongwana said, of procurement, corruption, and a whole number of other challenges. Challenges that we are alive to and are addressing at this point in time. Our economy needs to grow, everyone agrees, in the GNU and outside the GNU. We need to grow much faster to create the jobs that our country needs to achieve the prosperity that we all yearn for. We need more rapid growth to enable government to spend more money on healthcare, on education, on social grants, on infrastructure, and other key areas to improve the lives of our people. The Minister will deliver Budget 3.0 on the 21st. And the budget will, to a large extent, be a different budget from what we have had in past years. It's a budget that is going to make us look forward. It's a budget that's going to commit a lot of money also to infrastructure. And you could say for the first time in many, many years, we are now going to be able to spend up to R1 trillion on infrastructure over the medium term. Growth is the only way to achieve fiscal sustainability and social progress in our country. And this budget will speak to that. That is why, as the Government of National Unity, we've committed ourselves to sustaining the momentum which was achieved by Operation Vulindlela on the economic reform agenda, but a reform agenda that also has an impact on the social life of our people. So we need bold, far-reaching reform initiatives to revive and to reshape our economy. Our immediate priority is to follow through on the reforms that we have initiated and the reforms that are already underway so that they can realize their full impact. And in the energy sector, we will establish, and Minister Ramokgopa is working on that, a competitive electricity market governed by the Electricity Regulation Amendment Act, which came into effect earlier this year. Now, this is...
So that's the President, Ramaphosa, launching phase 2 of the Operation Vulindlela. In fact, we'll go back to him right after this.
Do you want an experience of a lifetime? Where every day is filled with challenges of providing Lisa Vanderpump curated experiences while dealing with rivalries, romances, and misadventures. It's drama at Vanderpump's French estate. Chantel Rosabelle and the staff can't wait to give you a front row seat to all the drama. Catch Vanderpump Villa, Saturdays on S3 at 8:30 p.m. S3 open up. S3.
It takes a while before these arch rivals meet in the final. But when they do, everything stops. Nabi is confident to delight the Amakhosi fans.
If the fans love Kaiser Chiefs, automatically is love Nabi.
While the back-to-back victor, Rivero, chases the third consecutive title.
Whenever it's time to go, we're going with the intention to be competitive, to try to be better than the opponent.
This is the Nedbank Cup final. Witness the Soweto Derby. Golden Black battles it out with Black and White on Saturday, 10 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Night Talk with Oliver Dixon.
You and I have a country to build, difficult conversations to have, solutions to find, and stories to tell. Join me, Oliver Dixon, on Night Talk every Monday to Thursday from 10 p.m. to midnight.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
So I did say earlier on, today is very, very fluid with the mayor addressing the city of Joburg. On the one hand, a call for him to be withdrawn. In fact, a motion of no confidence against that same mayor. In the meantime, the President, Ramaphosa, launching phase 2 of the Operation Vulindlela. We go back to him as he addresses the nation.
In the logistics sector, private rail companies will soon be able to operate on our freight rail network. And they will be given lines that they can operate, following the publication of the network statement by Transnet in December of last year. Now, this will enable a lot of investment. In fact, I should say massive investment in rolling stock, and also enable more goods to be transported by rail, helping our export industries to grow. Where we are right now, we are not transporting as much goods as we need to because of a number of constraints which Transnet and the Minister of Transport can speak to. Now, with opening up the lines and dedicating certain lines to those who have money to invest, which currently the state doesn't have, we will be able to transport more goods, and through that, yes, Transnet will be able to stabilize the whole network and be able to earn fees. These reforms will generate, yes, significant capital and new revenue streams for Transnet to help stabilize its operations and enable it to invest more and to innovate more and to get more capacity, more skilled people. We will establish on the water side the National Water Resources Infrastructure Agency as a dedicated entity to own, manage and invest in our water resources. We have found that when we have dedicated agencies like we have with SANRAL, which we established years ago, we are able to achieve greater success because there is focus as these agencies continue to operate under our ministries. So we're going to do the same with water. Now, through the Water Partnerships Office, we will support public-private partnerships in water infrastructure to reduce, yes, the leaks, access new water sources, and improve wastewater treatment as well. And we do believe that this we will be able to do through a national agency that will be able to get greater efficiencies. Now, to address the root causes of service delivery failures, we will also amend, and in the process of amending the Water Services Act, to separate the role of municipalities as water service authorities and water service providers. Separating the two roles will lead to greater capabilities and efficiencies. We should say that the days of standing by and watching while taps in our townships, in our factories and in our rural areas run dry, or where raw sewage runs into not only our river system but into the homes of our people, should be over, and we want that to end. We will take action to make sure that the right of every South African to quality drinking water is protected, and the right for our industries to function properly with good water will also be something that we see happening. Now, on the visa system, we will ensure that the recommendations of the work visa review are fully implemented and introduce an electronic travel authorization system to support growth in tourism, but also to support growth in those who want to come and invest in our country. The Minister of Home Affairs has already introduced the points-based system to make it easier for highly skilled people who want to come into our country, people who have skills, who have money, to come into our country with ease, who can contribute to our economy while at the same time enforcing our immigration laws more effectively, particularly to combat illegal immigration. Now, through these reforms, I do believe that we will complete the reform of our network industries that we began in the previous phase and address the binding constraints on growth. And we have to be grateful that we've had Treasury as well as the team in the presidency corralling and coordinating all of government to work together. And we have had great success. And to those who might think that, well, this is not as meaningful as all that, we just need to look at the success that we've had on our electricity side, because now the lights are on. However, this is not enough. We need growth that is both rapid as well as inclusive. We need growth that serves, yes, the millions of our people who remain unemployed and young people who cannot see a way into the labor market. And we need growth that improves the daily lives of our people by fixing the infrastructure that is broken. And I want to engender a new culture in our country for all of us to look after our infrastructure. One of the diseases that continues to beset us as a nation is that we don't really care for our infrastructure. And at times we go to a point of damaging infrastructure. I had a walk through this building yesterday, Union Buildings, and I then asked for the facilities manager. I said, where is the facilities manager? And walked around with her this morning. And I said, we must look after this resource, because I could see a number of areas that are broken, tiles that are chipped, and areas that need repair. And I said, I want you, facilities manager, to ensure that you have a very strong culture of maintaining the infrastructure we have. And I even said to her, you know, wear my eyes, because wherever I go, I look out for things that are falling apart and say they must be fixed. So we need to look after our infrastructure, and as far as we are concerned, that is why in the next phase of Operation Vulindlela 2, that we are launching today, we will want to introduce and implement reforms in 3 areas. And Minister Godongwane now is beginning to suggest, and I agree with him, that we should also look at procurement.
We'll get back to the President as he talks about the launch of Phase 2 of Operation Vulindlela, speaking to us from the Union Buildings right after this.
We all have dreams. Some people dream to be astronauts, while others want to yell, Vimba! As they chase that elusive shoplifter sprinting out and into Diamond Walk. Others might look at a broomstick and think to themselves that witchcraft might be the way to go. The possibilities are endless. But for Hollywood stars Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, their dreams is to make it big in the English football leagues. Tune into Welcome to Wrexham as the duo aim to turn Wrexham AFC into an underdog story that the world can root for, bringing hope and change to the community. Welcome to Wrexham, Saturdays at 3 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Bafana want to seal their envelope to East Africa with a paramount victory in front of their home fans. But the Flames plan to double the heat. This is the second leg of the final round of the Total Energies CAF Chan 2025 qualifiers. South Africa tackles Malawi on Sunday, 11 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Marawai, why did you think a plastic bag and tape was a solid window replacement after that smash and grab? And why does it sound like a kite every time you hit Puma 60Ks? Marawai, why aren't you insured with Santam, the insurer that covers theft or attempted hijacking? Get your car covered online in just 2 minutes or SMS cover to 36101. Santam. This is freedom. T's and C's apply. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
And this is the National Pulse. Let's get back now to the President. He's at the Union Buildings as he talks about the launch of Phase 2 of Operation Vulindlela.
Reforms. This will turn houses into an asset for poor households, and it will enable those households to access credit and use their asset to advance themselves. And finally, we are going to undertake a comprehensive regulatory review to remove the barriers that still exist to low-cost housing development and also to incentivize investment to make investment much easier and quicker in urban areas as opposed to outlying areas. These reforms will help to turn our cities and our towns into thriving centers of economic activity. I'm going to look very carefully and closely at the plan, the turnaround plan that the Mayor of Johannesburg just announced a few minutes ago, and he said he's sending me the plan publicly on national TV, and we have received the plan. So we will examine that, and we will want to see whether it addresses this issue and this challenge I'm talking about. The second area of reform for this phase of Operation Vulindlela 2 is to improve the performance of local government. Many of our municipalities are unable to deliver basic services to households and businesses. Now, Operation Vulindlela has set out a clear agenda for local government reform, which starts with improving the delivery of water, electricity services through professional utilities. Utilities should have the right technical skills, they should have strong regulation and oversight, and they should be rid of any form of corruption as well. And they should have full control of their billing and revenue functions to allow them to invest in infrastructure and maintenance too. Another key step is to strengthen local government administration. We will work to ensure that capable, qualified people are appointed to senior positions in municipalities, such as municipal managers as well as chief financial officers. This is a matter that occupied my discussion with the Auditor General when she presented her recent report. Now, this will be done by extending the mandate of the Public Service Commission to local government and taking action against municipalities that fail to comply with minimum competency standards that we want to see adhered to. The Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs has initiated a process to update the white paper on local government, which includes a review of the institutional structure and functioning of local government. And finally, National Treasury will review the local government fiscal framework, including the design of conditional grants, which we continue to give to our municipalities, to ensure that the revenue of municipalities matches their responsibilities. Now, the third area of focus for Operation Vulindlela 2 is the digital transformation process. Last month, Cabinet approved a digital transformation roadmap to drive the adoption of digital technologies in government and to build digital public infrastructure that can be used by all South Africans. Many other countries or governments in the world have already acceded to this. We are miles behind. And in fact, I often say our people are far ahead. They are tech savvy, they are digitally more capable, and government needs to catch up with where they are. Now, this will include a digital identity system, rapid payments, to expand payments, financial inclusion rather, and to enable people to access services like applying for an ID or a passport online. I say our people are far advanced because I saw this during COVID when we introduced the special grant for distress. We got up to 11 million people to access the money digitally without having to run to a bank or wherever. They were able to do so. And I was hugely impressed by our own people with their tech-savvy capability. So they are already ahead of us, and we now need to catch up. The process of reform is always never easy. It is often contested, and it is often contested by insiders because there are vested interests of one sort or another. Everyone wants to hold on and to hog their area of work. And through Vulindlela, we've opened it up and will continue to do so. So Vulindlela has been a transformative process in government that has enabled all of government to work together in a very cooperative way. We still have a long way to go. Yet we have a very simple choice to make. If we do not reform our economy, and if we do not reform the way we work, our economy will not grow, and we will not be able to create jobs. If we do not reform the way we work, we will not be able to satisfy the aspirations of our people. Unemployment will continue to rise, the level of dissatisfaction amongst our people will continue to rise, and poverty will increase. So the choice is very simple. On the other hand, if we implement these reforms, and some aspects of the reforms will be difficult, either at local government level or getting government departments to work more digitally, yes, they will be difficult. But if we do so swiftly and boldly, we will place our economy and our government on a path of growth and renewal. And the cooperation that we will engender between our government, our social partners, particularly labor, business, and civil society, will yield great dividends for us. And we will be able to address what are called generational problems. There is a generation of South Africans that does not know what it is to live in a country that is growing, in an economy that is growing. They have never experienced rising incomes. They've never had a feeling that jobs are increasing and they can walk out of their homes and go and seek a job and get it. They have, and a number of businesses have not been seeing the growth that they need to see. And we therefore need to ensure that we have expanding opportunities for both our people and also our businesses. It is therefore our intention to ensure that every South African feels the benefit of rapid, sustained, and inclusive growth, but also capability on the part of government. And that is why we will not halt our efforts to reform the economy and to improve the capability of the state, and to fundamentally transform both and to remove the constraints on our growth. We have established what I believe is significant momentum. We now have good signposts through the priorities that we have set up as the Government of National Unity, and it is therefore our responsibility to grow a flourishing crop and to ensure that all South Africans can, in the end, reap the benefits of the harvest. And this is what Vulindlela 2 is going to be all about, as we complete Vulindlela 1 as well. So we've bedded down a very good foundation, and we're now embarking on building greater growth and capability going forward. And I am sure that as these reforms take effect, we will be able to see growth. And I should say that many countries around the world know that it is through reforms that they can embark upon that they see growth, and the same should apply to us. So growth is what we aim for, and reform will be the tool that we use to achieve that growth. I'd like to thank you for being here at the launch of Vulindlela 2. Thank you very much.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 in Eldorado Park is closed at Klipspruit Valley Road due to a crime scene causing heavy traffic in the area. The N1 northbound in Midrand has a stationary vehicle near New Road in Bedfordview. The N3 northbound queuing on the link to the N12 east at Gululi's interchange, and the N3 southbound queuing towards Van Buren Road. In KZN, the N3 westbound has a stationary truck before Hammersdale, the N3 eastbound in Ashburton, a stationary truck after Market Road exit. The N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle before Spaghetti Junction, and the R102 southbound has a truck crash reported before Phoenix Highway. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound has heavy traffic between City Centre and Coburg interchange. Van Skoorstrift Road is closed between the N7 Highway and Morningstar Airfield. Marine Drive outbound in Milnerton has heavy traffic between Milnerton and Sunset Beach, and Voortrekker Road slow moving at the N7 Jakes Haddle Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
SAFM, leading the conversation.
The Saints understand it's too late to change things around, but it's never too late to beat defending champions and bow with pride.
He chips the goalkeeper! It's an absolute beauty! It's an absolute beauty from Musa Jack.
However, the citizens are forced to settle for a top 3 finish. They want nothing but 3 vital points.
Absolutely magnificent goal. Well, Phil Foden is still in a heat near the halfway line, but credit Andy Madley, he allowed City to continue.
This is the Premier League. Experience the superb battle between Southampton FC and Manchester City FC on Saturday 10 May at 3:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and S3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Northwest Legislature Portfolio Committee on Corporate Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs will be conducting public hearings on Independent Municipal Demarcation Authority Bill 2023 on 7 May 2025 at Legislature Auditorium in Mahikeng, Nakamudiri Mlema District, Sarafina Community Hall and Potchefstroom, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda District, Kismet Community Hall in Kismet, Riebeck, Dr. Ruth Sohomutsi Mompati District, and Rustenburg in Old Town Hall, Bujanala District. All hearings start at 10.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So clearly it's been an odd change last half an hour or so as we took in the President's speech regarding Phase 2 of Operation Vulindlela. What we'll do next, I can tell you, we will continue chatting with other important issues, including the tabling of the motion of no confidence by the DA against the Joburg mayor. That comes up shortly. And we'll also chat to Joburg mayor himself around 5:20, all that coming up. But first things first, let's get an update on the markets that we couldn't do early on with Paswane and Patlele. Paswane, let's talk about it, local and global. What's happening?
The story of today was market fees eased with the US and China talking to sit down and de-escalate trade tensions later in the week. Further, sentiment boost was balanced around China's announcing its stimulus. We've seen the economic data has been very weak, and now they've cut key policy rates to try to stimulate it. However, optimism in the market is capped because there's a Fed meeting largely happening later tonight that is expected to be a pause in the decision, but key interest rates is the key issue is the outlook. Will it be hawkish or dovish? And based on current pricing, it's more of a neutral setting with a bit of not much of a dovishness because of the dollar looking higher. We're looking at oil prices that have down 0.2 at $61.90 a barrel. Gold has also eased 1.3%. $3,385 an ounce. Bitcoin is looking tradable at these levels of 97,350. Looking at U.S. equities, with the VIX that is sitting at 23, it signals indecisiveness and is reflected in the equities. U.S. We see Dow up 0.3, Nasdaq down 0.3. Europe is all down over 0.5%. JC is down 0.5%. Industrials are drag us down 1.2%. Financials and resources are flat, and rand against the dollar is at 18.24, rand against the euro 20.72, and rand against the pound 24.38.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that, Paswane Mpatlele. Much appreciate that. Right, what we'll do next, we will get to talk to the DA about their perspective on the Joburg mayor right after this.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
And we'll connect to the DA representative pretty shortly. In the meantime, yes, we had lots of voice notes about some of the biggest issues that were covered on the show so far. Let's play them.
Hi, Ashraf. I hope and I wish that all people of Siyalume municipality in the Northern Cape, Douglas, I hope our people are listening to this guy called Comrade Ellen Busak, guy who's not afraid of the truth. I hope our people could just listen to him now. Yes, I'm speaking now. We're sitting with the water issue since Monday.
I think South Africa should deal with Donald Trump.
We're going to Thursday now. It's excuses, and another excuse, one excuses.
It's still the empire running the world. It is an
Unhappy Douglas.
Country, but
Okay. I tell you what, you said important things. We couldn't hear it all very clearly because you had me in the background. So, talking to Alan Busak, next time you do that, just make sure you turn that volume lower so that we could hear you much clearer, okay? Hopefully you got all of that. Right, let's get to the issue of the Joburg mayor. So, the city of Joburg's executive mayor is Dada Morero. He addressed the city today with a whole lot of things under the theme of the Joburg we all want. We will talk to him about that shortly. In the meantime, the DA submitted a motion of no confidence in both the executive mayor, Dada Morero, and the speaker of the city of Joburg, that's Councillor Nobutle Mthembu. So why did they do this? What do they think is going to happen? Let's get the thoughts of the DA Joburg caucus leader, that's Belinda Kaiser Achio Zon Joko. Appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Thank you so much, Ashraf, and good afternoon to the listeners.
Okay, so that motion of no confidence has been tabled. Why?
The motion has not been tabled yet. We submitted it to the Speaker's office. There's quite a process that happens before it gets to Council. So it's going through the Programming Committee. We've tabled this motion because the Mayor has failed. And I think today is just a typical example. Hisoka has just justified why we should have tabled that motion and probably should have done so earlier. He has sat while illegal decisions has gone through council and had been challenged in court. There's been no consequence management. Residents, the city is crumbling. There are no water, electricity. People are with 10 to 12 days without electricity. And the Lillian Ngoyi Road, you haven't seen any movement on some of the CapEx projects. Some of the projects that they said they will be prioritizing. By law enforcement, it is at a low, and the mayor has just been arrogant and has not even bothered to take any proposals from opposition parties.
Now, how much of the city crumbling that you talk about do you attribute to this mayor only? Because, Joburg has been in a state of flux for quite a while, and with different political parties, including the DA at different times, in some form of coalition or the other, right? So why would you attribute the crumbling city to the incumbent?
Because it's gotten worse, Ashraf, because since the mayor came in August 2024, he did mention some of the changes he will make, but he also said we mustn't expect a lot from him. But a lot of the commitments he's consistently made in council meetings, he has not kept it. For example, he told us that the Lillian Ngoyi issue is going to be resolved, and despite the DA engaging with him via email, via letters, to even give proposals on accountability, he has not acted on these. So things have gotten progressively worse under his leadership. And the challenge that we have is that when we raise proposals, when we give him possible solutions, for example, there were block-by-block integrated operations that the DA has left in office, that we had said, please proceed with it, it will assist whoever is in charge of the city, and we are being accused of ruling from the grave. Now, we're saying if you really stand for all the residents of Johannesburg, irrespective of who brings proposals, if we see things crumble and getting worse, why not take those proposals and take credit for it? And that is unfortunately the situation that we're sitting with in the city, and we're saying things have gotten progressively worse. There's a disconnect between the mayor and his executive. You'll find that you'll ask something to the mayor about a particular portfolio, and they're just not talking to each other. The IDP sessions is just a ticking box exercise, and that is why we've also put an issue on the speaker, because she committed to hold the executive to account, and she has failed to do that as well.
But I mean, talking about commitment, isn't it easier said than done? I mean, I look at an example, and I know I'm talking at cross purposes here because it's all very relevant. For example, your party, the DA, are part of the GNU, and even that is not smooth sailing. It means it is very complex to run a country with multiple interest groups, and the same would apply to a city as well. So we don't have a majority, not at national and not at local, and I'm just asking the question about, is there not some empathy for the fact that it is incredibly difficult to put things together?
Unfortunately, we would have no empathy for the executive mayor, and I'll tell you why. Because even though there is a coalition, there you have the second largest party in council who have also led the city at some point in a coalition, and also understand the difficulties of coalition arrangement and coalition government. But then you engage, and the DA has been very clear that we are not going to just complain. So before you see us going public, we would have tried internally to try and engage the executive mayor, some of the MMCs, and they are simply just arrogant simply because it comes from the Democratic Alliance. And we're saying, yes, you are in a ruling coalition party, but you cannot just ignore a party that has 43 ward councillors alone in the city of Johannesburg, and these
Let's try, and that's maybe a question of alarm bells ringing in the city. The question is, who's going to be in charge of sorting out when those alarm bells go? Is it the current mayor, the executive mayor, and that is Dara Morero, or is it somebody else? Keeping in mind that the DA is now, they plan to submit this motion of no confidence in the mayor as well as in the speaker. I just want to check if we've actually got the guest back on the line. Right, let's see if we can just reconnect in a moment or so. Let me just tell you as well, some of the conversations we've had regarding Alan Boesak, very interesting one. Do listen out for that. It's about 20 minutes. We chatted to him on a range of issues, including the Trojan horse story. Remember that? We've got the podcast up. Check it out. Go to the website, safm.co.za. You'll find it under podcast. Right? We do have now Belinda Kaiser, Echion Zonjoku with us now, the DA Joburg caucus leader. So, okay, we just lost you for a second when you were referring to the different constituencies that make up the city of Joburg, right? But perhaps let's move on to this, right? One is tabling a motion, the other is wanting to win that motion. Are you confident about it, and if so, why?
We are confident because there is sufficient unhappiness about the situation within the city. We tried previously, I'm sure as you know, being in the media, that we have tried to get the council dissolved. We've tried to table a motion for the dissolution of council. You need 2/3 of council, not a simple majority, to get that motion to pass. So the next best option with currently what's happening is to put a motion of no confidence, also to communicate a message that there is unhappiness, and we are confident because as we were just putting this public today, we were called by political parties. We didn't even approach anyone yet, but we were called by political parties being relieved that we've actually put this motion in because of the dire situation within the city, and also the fact that the mayor is refusing to engage all political parties that have representatives.
Have I heard you correctly earlier on in saying that in fact, you're expecting ANC members to also support the motion of no confidence as part of a secret ballot.
That's correct. That's correct. And that is one of the reasons why we have said earlier also in the media that we are confident that this motion will go through because the executive mayor has unfortunately caused a whole lot of challenges within the city and has not done what he committed to do, which is engaging everybody so we can all find solutions together.
All right,
for the residents.
let's say you succeed. I mean, some may say that's not going to happen, but fine. Let's say that happens, you succeed, and you effectively topple the mayor and the speaker. What then is your plan? What happens next? And do I take it that part of the plan has got to be for the DA to position itself to be able to lead the city of Joburg? What's the plan?
We will cross that bridge when we get there. At this point, we want to ensure that this motion goes through, and that's what we're working on at this stage.
But why would you cross the bridge when it gets there? I mean, if you asked me to vote, if I was a councillor, my next question would be, okay, remove the mayor, now what? What happens next?
We will ensure that capable people are consulted when we have, the next voting, because there's 14 days that needs to happen. 14 days once the mayor is ousted, which will probably happen in June. Once that happens, then the city has 14 days to call a council meeting. And you will have to then, deal with all the dynamics that happens inside the council.
Okay, just a last thing. So, again, you succeed, you'll deal with that problem when you encounter it. Again, the skeptic listening to say, goodness, man, the city is a mess. We all accept that. I certainly do. But the mayor just delivered his state of the city talk, and he talks about this whole fight back and big plan, like the bomb squad to try and revive things. Isn't it better to give that team a chance than to literally go back to square one? Because that square one is what the city has experienced for the last 5 years or so. We're just not getting off the starting blocks.
Let me just say this, Ashraf. I have a challenge already with the mayor's State of the City address today. The mayor has talked about a whole lot of pie in the sky promises.
All right, just in 30 seconds, go for it, right? 30 seconds, yeah.
Okay. He's just submitted a plan to the presidency. We don't know the terms of reference of that working group that he submitted a plan to. Council don't know what is the terms of reference, and council don't know what is the turnaround plan that is given. The city of Joburg is not under administration, and what we are saying is that the mayor needs to listen to all political parties.
Okay.
And
I'll tell you what, just pause on that,
done.
because I want to just pick up on the point is, does he really not listen to all the other political parties? We'll get an answer after this.
This Thursday on EFC, Africa's greatest meet the Warriors of Brazil on a night where 3 titles will be contested. Amanda Lino takes on Mariana Salles, Willie Van Rooyen takes on Kleberson Sousa, and in the main event, JC Lamprecht goes to war with Luis Paulo Picanso for the light heavyweight title. EFC 123 live from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
We spend a lot of time looking for deals, but we don't invest the same time in our health. Your health buys you more time with the people you love. So who are you staying healthy for, and how can you improve your health? Choose Dis-Chem Life, the life cover that rewards you for living healthier with lower premiums and more cover. Visit dischemlife.co.za now. Dis-Chem Life. Choose a better partner for life. Dis-Chem Life is an authorized FSP 50594, underwritten by Guard Risk Life, a licensed life insurer, FSP 76. T's and C's apply.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Okay, we're going to wrap up the conversation with Belinda Kaiser, Echiozon Joku from the DA, the DA Joburg caucus leader. Belinda, let's just get clarity on this. You saying as part of his job, I mean, he ultimately, who makes the final decisions? And in terms of your consultative process, I get the sense of what you're saying is he is effectively not listening, as in shrugging off, as opposed to listening but making his own decisions.
Correct. Council is the final decision-making body in local sphere of government, and the city of Joburg is not under administration as far as we know. So the presidential intervention that the mayor keeps alluding to, we need to know what is the terms of reference and what is in that turnaround strategy. And it needs to report, at least he needs to report it to council so we can perform our oversight role as councillors, which is what we are supposed to be doing. And that's the challenge also with the executive mayor, asking for help, but not even briefing council about what is happening. We don't even know who is sitting on the presidential working group and what is their terms of reference. At least if he has brought the turnaround strategy so we can also monitor and monitor and evaluate and do oversight over it. But at the moment, he's just running with things, and residents are feeling the brunt of nothing happening, and he's not listening to anybody. That's the challenge we're sitting with. So we don't, he's been given almost a year. We have previously said we are not going to support motions previously, and simply because we were giving him a chance to find his feet and also to fulfill his mandate, but he's currently failing, and it doesn't seem as if he is willing to self-correct.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Belinda Kaiser, Echiozon Joku, the DA Johannesburg caucus leader. Much appreciate your time today. We'll have that conversation up as a podcast as well pretty shortly. I think Busani is making it clear that he will sort it out ASAP. Right. A strange day, lots of differences. We should be chatting to the Joburg mayor. He's suddenly unavailable, so we can't talk to him, unfortunately, which is a huge pity. But it does mean I've got like the bonus prize, which is I talk to you. I want to get a sense of your feeling of the National Pulse right after this.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
Okay, let's pick up some of the comments based upon the conversation we've just been having.
Hi, Ashraf. This is my corners from Johannesburg. Listening to you speaking to the DA representative about a motion of no confidence. That is all what politicians know. Motions of no confidence against each other, scrambling for positions in council and in government, and they forget about services for the people. And this is what they know, but they cannot actually provide services for the people. Why don't they just support the mayor and support every council member right now, the MSCs, MMCs, and so on, to make sure that the Johannesburg is actually being revitalized and it gets to function well. At the moment, now they're scrambling for positions. Thank you, Ashraf. Nice show.
I appreciate that you enjoy the show. Support positions, well, maybe did the DA representative council convince you why they're not going to support the mayor? Maybe they have. I wonder.
Oh, shame, Ashraf. So the DA is feeling ignored, huh? Like a spouse who's being ignored. Like, it's just not giving attention to me. No, whatever suggestion I make to him, he doesn't take it serious. So therefore, motion of no confidence. Not that I have confidence in Dada Moreira, but anyway, it's what it is. But Joburg, that's us.
What did someone say yesterday? It's not just a world-class city, it's a stinky world-class city. I didn't say that. I'm repeating what was said by certainly someone here on the show, on the National Pulse. Right, Ronald in Midrand, go for it. You want to also talk about the DA. Go for it, Ronald.
Yes, Ashraf, it's so funny. DA is a funny political party.
Yeah, why are they funny?
Not being included in government. In fact, they want to be governing, and they are not elected. There's something, they have the feeling of entitlement. There's something wrong with DA. When you are not elected, you don't have majority. You have no right to govern. And the one who governs doesn't owe you how they govern, because they govern according to their own manifesto. So the lady was just mourning about not being consulted. Why must she be consulted? Do they consult anyone when they govern in Cape Town? It's so funny. I don't know who votes for DA. Eh?
Clearly, a lot of people do vote for them. I mean, let's give it to them. But people do vote for them, and in fact, the ANC also votes for them, meaning they vote as chommies in the GNU. It's ironic.
But it's funny.
That's the way the world is. Yeah, it is funny, but it's true. Ronald in Midrand, thank you very much. As we talk, there should be another vote taking place. I'm talking about the Cardinals voting in a new pope as well at the Vatican. We'll certainly update that. Well, it's not going to happen today with the end, but in a couple of days, we'll certainly talk about that. The president has been rather busy with his own talks in terms of the speech today. Here's some comment.
Ashraf, good day, man. Flores here again from the beautiful Western Cape. This whole speech of Ramaphosa, we've seen this movie before. Still the same characters and actors, just a different background and a different theme song. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Here we are. Rocky, what's it? Rocky 1 or 2 or 3? You can take your pick. More comment on the president.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, sometimes I wish I can switch off my radio when I'm listening to the president, because it's the same old nice speeches with no action. Thanks from Andile in Willowvale, Eastern Cape.
Aish, you've maybe hit the nail on the head, isn't it? Shatta in Cape Town, go for it. You also want to talk about the DA. Hello.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. How are you?
I'm very good indeed. Right, what's your point?
Ashraf, I stay in both Cape Town and Johannesburg. I know the difference of a life of a black man and of a colored person in both the two cities.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to pull the wool over our eyes. We know that they use they use colored votes to advance white interests. I mean, if you go to Cape Town, or if you go to Mitchell's Bay, if you go to Hanover Park, if you go to Manenberg, it's people there are living in dire conditions. Dire conditions. I mean, the property rate has just been increased. There was this thing that is going to increase by 5.9%, but they are opposing a VAT increase. What a bunch of hypocrites. I mean, this lady must not come here and try to fool us. We are not our forefathers. We're not going to be fooled by the DA.
Okay.
We are not going to.
So bottom line, you are not being fooled by, as you say, this lady, Shatta in Cape Town. Let's get to the news headlines. It's 5:30. Yes, Greg.
Quick look at the headlines. The Gauteng Health Department says it's been granted leave to appeal a High Court judgment and order relating to the provision of treatment for cancer patients. The EFF leaders will condemn the British High Commission's failure to process his visa application to the UK. And Pakistan's National Security Committee says India's missile strikes constitute acts of war. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, President Fashier Road in Bromhof is closed between CR Swart Drive and Kelly Avenue. In Pretoria, the N4 eastbound queuing on the off-ramp to Solomon Mhlangu Drive, and the N1 northbound has a crash on the off-ramp to Linwood Road. In KZN, the N2 northbound has a crash before Mgeni Road, the M19 westbound in Westville queuing towards Dunkel Road exit, and the M7 westbound queuing towards Bellville Road exit. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound slow moving between the city centre and Koeberg interchange. The M5 southbound is slow moving towards De Waal Drive, and Stellenbosch Till Road eastbound queuing towards Nooiensfontein Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkapele.
Okay, Tumi, we missed you at 4:30, and I think so did the country, because some people wanted their tickets.
Of course.
Right, go for it.
Well, over 51,000 tickets were sold for this weekend's Nedbank Cup final between Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs, which is more than Moses Mabhida Stadium can accommodate. Now, the stadium's capacity for the match is 49,000, but only 41,000 tickets were available for public sale after hospitality and complimentary allocations. Stadium management says that CompuTicket sold over 44,000 tickets, with the rest split between ShopRite, Checkers and Open Tickets, and ticket sales were halted and over 10,000 fans were refunded, though officials insist no more tickets were issued than venue allows. I just think a lot of people are currently disappointed, because I've heard stories of some saying, listen, we bought tickets and then we got an email that we will be refunded. That time I thought I have already bought a ticket.
Why would you get refunded if you bought a ticket?
Because they've oversold the tickets.
How did they oversell tickets?
I don't understand. I really
That's
don't
like,
understand.
when you oversubscribe, it's like an investment company.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense.
It really doesn't make sense.
So you got a ticket, but you actually haven't got a ticket. To borrow a phrase that's been happening today with Fly Safair, because he's been running all day, right?
Yeah.
You're in the waiting room. You got a ticket, but actually you only have a ticket to the waiting room,
Sure.
not to the game.
Imagine.
No.
And I was listening to one fan who's actually from KZN and saying, I actually haven't heard anyone around me in KZN saying that they have a ticket to this one. We're in queues there at ShopRite, Checkers, but nothing at all. But anyway, on a lighter side of things, or maybe let me say positive.
You can bungee jump at the Moses Mabhida. That's a light enough. No.
Listen, we have a couple of voice notes. I was asking in terms of the record. Let me just get that question. I'm basically asking you, what is the record for the most number of Soweto Derby matches in a single season?
I said 6, right?
You said 6. Yeah. Let's hear what our listeners are saying.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and to me and the listeners of SAFM. The number of Soweto derbies played in one season, it's 6 times. Ashraf was correct. Ashraf was right. It's absolutely 6 times. Titelo here in Rustenburg. The number of Soweto derbies played in one single season, it's 6 times. Ashraf was absolutely 100% correct, and I say it's 6 times. Thank you.
Is he right that I'm right? You're not saying anything.
No, it's not right.
It's not right.
On to the next one.
I was about to say, come on. I mean, what a guy, man. Suddenly he made me sound so intelligent. Like I was right because I was guessing. Okay, go for it.
Hi, this is Senzo from Durban. The answer for the most Soweto derbies in one season is 10. Yes, 10.
Hi. For the question for the Soweto Derby, the answer has to be 8. I think the record that was set was in 1975, where there were 8 Soweto Derby matches in a season. Yeah, the answer is 8.
Hi, SAFM. My name is Sibongeleni Ndlovu. The number of Soweto derbies that have been played per season is 8. It's Sibongeleni Ndlovu from Durban. Thanks.
Well, Sibongeleni and Our Lady actually got it right. It is 8.
Goodness.
And it was set in 1975. So there were 2 legs of the Champions of Champions,
Okay.
the semi-final of the first ever mixed tournaments, which was also called the Champions of Champions, the Life Challenge final, and the BP Top 16 semi-finals, which also necessitated as a replay and also in the league.
But the replay is not right.
Listen,
Yeah,
all
that's
in
one
all,
game.
but all in all, they did play.
Okay. What,
So
were there
we
only
have
4
2
teams in
winners.
the league that season? I'm just checking.
Come again?
Were there only 4 teams in the league that season?
No, absolutely
Well,
not.
Mamelodi, not Mamelodi, they were not even there. Morocco Swallows would have been around.
Yeah.
And maybe Amazulu, 4 teams in the league. Yeah.
So there we have it. We've got 2 winners, and I think our producer will get a hold of them to just get the email address so that we can send their tickets. But elsewhere, Mikel Arteta is quite opposite. That is quite optimistic that Arsenal can reach the Champions League final ahead of tomorrow's semi-final second leg. Today's semi-final second leg against PSG. Now the Gunners have not won major silverware since lifting the FA Cup in Arteta's first season in charge in 2020, and PSG have a slender 1-0 lead to defender. They're seen as favourites to progress to the final where Inter Milan awaits.
The most beautiful cities in the world against a great opponent. It doesn't get much better than that. We are here to make history. We have a big opportunity tomorrow. We bring a result that gives us so much clarity about what we have to do. A lot of learnings from the first leg as well, and how small the margins are between the 2 teams. The result, in my opinion, should have been very different to that one. So tomorrow, another opportunity to prove that and the right to be in the final.
In cricket, Indian captain Rohit Sharma has announced that he will retire from Test cricket with immediate effect and will continue playing ODIs. And also, Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie is pushing to bring a Live Golf tournament to South Africa. And this comes after his meeting with officials from the Saudi-backed tour during a visit to South Korea. Live Golf has strong South African representation, including Louis Oosthuizen, Charles Schwartzel, Brandon Grace, amongst others. It will be interesting if that tournament actually comes to South Africa. Perhaps it will go down to Sun City.
Maybe, but
What
the
do you
whole world's
think?
shifting.
Yeah.
I mean, Live Golf, tennis, there's so much that's happening in the Middle East. And Saudi Arabia, right or wrong, are making a serious pitch to basically own all these properties, aren't they?
But absolutely. But for me, I think the Minister of Sports, I think also the Minister of Sports is really pushing for really big things to come to South Africa.
Just think about it. If the GNU, for whatever reason, collapses and the Minister of Sport is not the Minister of Sport anymore, what's he going to say?
Who's going to come in next? Well,
Ghostbusters. I don't know. He'd be furious.
He definitely
would be. Yeah.
But that's it. It's a wrap from my side.
Listen, man, before you say that's it, I mean, I have to say this for people who didn't know, right? Inter Milan 1, Barcelona 0. Inter Milan 2, Barcelona 0. Inter Milan 1, Barca 1, 2-1 rather. 2-2, Inter 2, Barca 3 at 3-2 up. What's that 17-year-old youngster? Lamine, right?
Yeah.
He had the chance to make it 4. And the goalkeeper saved it. And 30 seconds later, it was 3-3. And he had another chance in a few seconds of injury time. The game went into extra time. And Inter Milan won one of the great games to see it. I watched it all.
What a cracker of a game.
After Pirates had their game early on. But this was the one that we all talked about. You can't ignore it.
Absolutely.
Let's see what happens to Arsenal tonight.
It'll be interesting to see.
Temba said already, don't call me if we lose. So I'm expecting to call him because I'm supporting the Gunners, just so that you know.
Yeah, same here actually. But that said, ke nna tumeng kgapele modimo ke yo.
Rise and shine every weekday morning on Expresso.
Now, whether it's a motivational Monday or even a health Tuesday, this is the best way to start your day.
Let our trending tech keep you ahead of the curve.
Join us online and vote in our fashion poll.
Elevate your cooking skills every Wednesday.
It's the best in morning entertainment.
So wake up with us.
6 to 9 a.m. on S3.
Cheers.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Off air, myself and Tumi were talking about Lamine Yamal, like 17-year-old. What a football! And I'm being serious about it. Top of his profession as a 17-year-old lighty. What a gift. Let's talk about other professions. We're talking markets and the business now with Jimmy Moyaha, who hosts the SAFM Market Update. Jimmy, there's a profession called cyber attacks, and I don't like it, but you've got stories about that.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. Certainly, the latest victim of those cyber attacks is a well-known state-owned entity in the form of South African Airways. We've seen that these cyber attacks have been on the rise, with the likes of Pam Golding and Cell C even reporting being the victims of cyber attacks. So we're going to take a look at this with a cyber specialist and try and see if we can understand if there's any common threads there that we could be looking out for, and most importantly, how businesses can keep themselves safe in these digital times that we live in. Then we've also got a conversation with the International Trade and Administration Commission around the latest tariff proposals that they've put forward. They are looking to increase the tariffs that we could potentially be paying on imported renewable energy products. So everything from solar products to lithium batteries and the works. So we're going to speak to ITAC, try and get a sense of the gazette that they've put forward and the draft proposal and why they're doing that and the rationale there. And then we've got a conversation with the team at Allan Gray around the electric vehicle space. There has been quite an increase in popularity of electric vehicles depending on which part of the world you're in, and we're going to take a look at what that means for South Africa, but also what it means for the electric vehicle market in general. And then, because it's Wednesday, we've got an executive lounge segment this Wednesday. We're going to be chatting to the founder and CEO of a company called Recruit My Mom, a business that was started in 2012. We're going to speak to the company's founder and CEO and get a sense of how she built the business, why she built the business, and where the business is today. Before we get to all of that, markets have had a rather muted day depending on which markets you are looking at. Resources were only up about 5 basis points locally. Industrials down 1.2%. Financials down about 0.1%. As a result, the all-share down about 0.5 or just under 0.6%. The top 40 down 2/3%. If we look at international markets that would have been trading throughout the day as well, the Asian markets would have been all in the green with the exception of the Nikkei in Tokyo. That was down about 0.1%, but the biggest gainer in Asian markets was the Shanghai index, up about 0.2%. European markets all in the red. Biggest loser there, the CAC 40 in France, down around almost a 4% there, with the FTSE a close second, down about 0.2%. US markets at the moment are mixed. S&P's up, but the Nasdaq is down. The Nasdaq's down about 0.3%, but of course those markets are going to trade into the evening. A quick look at commodities. Platinum and palladium pricing still below $1,000 a fine ounce in each case there, so no movements there, but we are very close. We're at about $9.90 on platinum and $9.80 on palladium. The Brent crude price, $61.62 a barrel. The OPEC announcement that came through recently, not deterring markets, not deterring the price there. And the gold price, $3,385 a fine ounce. Quick look at currencies, 18 Rand 22 is what $1 will cost you, 24 Rand 31 British pound, and 20 Rand and 68 cents would buy you €1. $1 Australian dollar will cost you about 11 Rand and 77 cents. Anyone looking at Bitcoin heading closer towards $100,000 a coin, currently at $97,000 a coin. In Rand terms, that would be roughly 1.77 million Rand. So we're going to look at these movements a little later on. I've got David Shapiro of Sasfin Wealth joining me to take a look at market movements when we come back. But that's at 6 o'clock. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Okay, perfect, Jimmy. You enjoy your shows 6 to 7, and then Michael Abramson 7 to 8, and then of course we've got a whole lot of current affairs shows 8 to 10, and then 10 to midnight. We do it all again early in the morning, right?
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
So while we've been talking, by the way, I'm going to take your calls on some of the issues that certainly we've talked about today, including the Operation Vulindlela, talk from the president, but also the DA motion of no confidence with the Joburg mayor. The Joburg mayor couldn't talk to him today, but he delivered his own address. Maybe we'll get some sound, maybe not, but I think we need to hear what you have to say because we couldn't take some calls earlier. In the meantime, Julius Malema has tweeted saying the British authorities have denied me a visa to London for the Cambridge conference this weekend, providing no substantial justification. It is clear to me that this is an attempt to silence a dissenting political perspective. We are currently at the OR airport, as we were promised that everything would be sorted by 15:30. Instead, we received a regret letter just 4 hours before our departure. This is unacceptable and spineless. So that's where he is. There's also a reaction from the EFF, and I'll try and get to that in a moment. But let me get to some of your calls as well. Mfundo in Cape Town, go for it. Hello.
Hi, Ashraf.
Yeah, how's it? What's your point?
This representative or the speaker of DA from Johannesburg. Quite shocking because you ask them a simple question, then what's the plan? Then they do kind of will cross that bridge when we get there. How do you do that?
I must say, I find that puzzling. As you probably heard me say, you asked me to vote for you, like we're going to remove X. Like, okay, what you going to do? No, we'll talk about that later.
You can't. This politician must stop fooling us, man. So it shows that there's no plan of action. It's a matter of, I just want to be in power. I want to be in control. If what happens next, I don't care. If the residents of Johannesburg are not getting any services, they don't care. As long as their vote of no confidence goes ahead.
I promise you, I'm going to a CPF meeting in Joburg tonight, and at some stage, I'm going obviously as a community person, but it may well come up, and I may well raise it about this vote of no confidence. We'll see what happens later on. Mfundo, thanks for amplifying your thoughts on that issue. Now, here's the statement from the EFF, right? They've tweeted as well. The EFF are saying the United Kingdom is not only suppressing academic freedom by essentially banning the president of the EFF from traveling to the country, but is engaged in an open declaration of war against those who dare stand up to warmongers such as the British monarchy, which has the blood of the people of Kenya, whom they brutalized during the Mau Mau rebellion, still dripping from their hands. This bureaucratic ban is a response to the condemnation by the CIC of the bloodthirsty murderers such as former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, who destroyed Iraq under the guise of looking for non-existent weapons of mass destruction. You can check out the full statement on their Twitter feed that they've posted, right? But I need to get your thoughts as well. Right, there's been further comments about, remember earlier on we chatted about the VIP unit. It seems like such a long time ago.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. We must not be surprised about the Cameron's stance on the decision not to find the policeman guilty, because he's one of the people who have presided over the laws of this country, which are giving criminals lots of rights. Yeah, so he must cry.
He must cry. What about you calling in? Are you a first-time caller? Are you a regular? Are you a younger person? I also want to get people who are 20-somethings. Come on. We're getting into Youth Month. We have to hear some young people express their opinions. First-time callers, females, young people, people born in South Africa, people born outside of the country. You all make up the National Pulse. I need to hear what you have to say. What about Alan Busak?
Good afternoon, Ashraf, SAFM listeners. Kimarumo, Umaike. I heard you called Alan Busak this afternoon. You called Naidu last time. They come always on radio and they say they can change this whole thing. They want, if they were still in power, they could change whatever. They were part of that. They didn't do it. They must just keep quiet. It's all I can say. All of them. They were in the office. They couldn't do anything. I don't think whatever they are saying now will change the narrative. Thank you.
Well, you may have a point. In fact, we had a chat with who did we have the other day? A few days ago, we had somebody else too. But I mean, Alan Busak, I get your point around that. Let's get to Warren in Stutterheim. Warren, go for it. Hello.
Good evening, Ashraf and listeners. Mr. Malema must just realize that a country doesn't have to give you reasons for not issuing a visa. It's their prerogative to issue a visa, and especially with his little bit of I'm upset with the British, then he'll never get into Britain or any other country with utterances like that. He must learn to control his tongue and think a little bit, not step into the doo-doo up to his neck. Okay, have a good evening. Cheers, bye.
All right, Warren. Hello, goodbye. Made the point. Warren in Stutterheim. I'll take more calls, and some of them are complimentary about Alan Busak. You have to listen to him. By the way, the other conversation we had a week ago with Jay Naidu, listen to that one. And again, you may say he was around, he was in power. But what about his thoughts now? Check out that podcast, safm.coza/podcast/ The National Pulse. You'll find all those conversations there, including the other conversation of yesterday that we had regarding that the allegations of a bomb threat in that mosque in Cape Town. It's all available on the National Pulse.
The wait is over. I've been hustling, grinding, and now it's time for the glow up you've been waiting for. Unapologetically, made the bay. From the grind to the glam. Anile Zondo The Glow Up on Saturdays at 8 p.m. only on SABC 1, Mzansi for sure.
Save and win a car with Spar for real. Stand to win one of 50 fiery red Hyundai Grand i10 sedans. Buy any participating products and swipe your rewards card to enter. Get 200-gram Dow Egberts instant coffee for $139.99 plus 300 megs free data on Spar Mobile, or 145-gram Doritos corn chips. Buy any two for 35 Rand plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Price is valid until 19 May while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
It takes a while before these arch rivals meet in the final. But when they do, everything stops. Nabi is confident to delight the Amakhosi fans.
If the fans love Kaizer Chiefs, automatically is love Nabi.
While the back-to-back victor, Rivero, chases the third consecutive title.
Whenever it's time to go, we're going with the intention to be competitive, to try to be better than the opponent.
This is the Nedbank Cup final. Witness the Soweto Derby. Golden Black battles it out with Black and White on Saturday, 10 May at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
I mean, interesting some of the comments. Here's one. Ashraf, I hope this is not a trap or a ploy to discredit the DA as trying to destabilize the country and Gauteng, considering the recent, the recent VAT issue, Bella Act Court, Citizenship Court, etc. Now this vote of no confidence. They want to turn us, blacks, against the DA. But now I'm trying to understand what you mean by that. And hate it if the motion fails. It will be portrayed as the DA wanting to take over this. DA Gauteng leadership must be careful and not fight all the battles. Thabo in Soweto. Thabo, I'm so confused by what you're saying. I really am. Are you saying the DA motion of no confidence is a plot to discredit the DA so that black people don't have to vote for them? Wow. Okay, there's more comments, and here's one about the EFF.
Good evening, Ashraf and listeners. It's Chris from Pretoria. The EFF's comments about the British monarchy and that is laughable. It just shows you how they live in the past, wrong ideology, and still they want to travel to the UK. Why would the UK want them there? They are singing "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer." I agree with the British government. Kick them out. Don't let them into your country. They're already helping the ANC to destroy this country.
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, he's invited there to come and give a talk. It's an academic reason, not going on a holiday, sitting on the beach in Blackpool. If I've got my geography right, I mean, there we are.
Good evening, Ashraf and SAFM listeners. Buta here from Pretoria. I think it's good that this visa was declined. Because I personally think it wasn't safe for him to go to United Kingdom. I feel like, what if they assassinate him or something like that? And I think we need him in South Africa. So I think it's good. He must just stay here for now. Thank you.
Okay, so yours is don't go out of compassion. Interesting take on that one there.
Very strange, very strange. We hate the Europeans. We hate the West. But we want to go to their countries. We love China, we love Russia. Why don't we go to Russia? If someone is given a scholarship to go and study, they will choose UK and USA. Not Russia they like, not China they like, but UK and America they hate. Are we hypocrites? Crying for the visa to go to US, to go to UK, London, Britain, but not Russia, not China that they love most. Why do you go to the hypocrites and abusers and colonizers? I think we should be asking ourselves, are we really hypocrites? Well,
I don't know about it. I mean, I think, many people do go and study in Britain and the USA, even if they don't like them. On the other hand, it's not like people don't go to China. I promise you, a lot of people study in China and Russia and other Eastern European countries and the Middle East and in other parts of the East. People do that. They really, really do, right? Here's another one on Busak.
Ashraf, good afternoon, man. This is Flores from the Western Cape, listening to Alan Busak. Yeah, I know his family. They live in Montague. But then again, you can still hear that Busak is deeply hurt by what the ANC did to him after allegations of fraud, the Curtin saga. So I was going to ask him, if we're given the chance, if he had a tone for his alleged transgressions, or and if he think that he can still play a role in the modern politics. Have a good job, bye-bye.
Well, if it's alleged transgressions, it doesn't have to atone because it's only alleged. But if it is transgressions, then maybe your question is valid indeed. Here's Joburg.
Hi, Ashraf. You know, the Democratic Alliance is right about Joburg. Joburg was once a thriving first world clean city. It took only a few years of mismanagement, corruption, you name it, from various parties like the ANC, the EFF, and the MK to ruin it. Today it's a third world, almost slum city. It has more potholes in the roads than I've got hairs on my head. So yeah, something must be done about it. Errol, Durban.
Thanks for that, Neville. I'll tell you what, we must probably get someone like Fido Hafferty, perhaps, to trace the history of the decline of Joburg, because he's written extensively about that, meaning it didn't start last week. It did not start last week. And the MK has only been around, well, just about a year. It started long before that. So who was in charge when we felt the decline? Of course, the common factor would be the ANC, but who else? Think about that.
The most derbies we had in one season is 5 times.
You see, Tumi says 8, and I have to go with Tumi. Someone saying, yeah, Ashraf, your geography is right, but Blackpool on the beach, horrible in winter. Okay, now we know that. Well, I think the whole of Britain sometimes horrible in summer. It's also so cold, right? Here's another one. We're just going to wrap up with a couple of few that we can play. Just one on that motion of no confidence.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Mcede here in Kala. Ashraf, don't you think it's high time now that this vote of no confidence must be brought back to the citizens of South Africa in a form of referendum? By the way I see it, Ashraf, it's for their dislike and egos. That is the politicians, and not for improving quality life for citizens. They mustn't deter referendum to South Africans. Thanks, Ashraf. Mcede here in Kala.
It's an interesting one. I mean, let's wrap up with just one more, but it's an interesting one on that. You know, should we have the power to remove and not leave it to the politicians that we appoint as councillors?
Ashraf, good afternoon. Those politicians, but they think they are better than us. They are busy toying for our lives here in Joburg. How are they supposed to provide services for us, clean the city?
Motion of no confidence against.
See, that's how it ended with my voice. Motion of no confidence. I want to declare a motion of confidence in you on the National Pulse. If you're listening in and we make things work, it really is appreciated. Let's do it again tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Here's Greg with the news at 6.
Thank you again, Ashraf. Health Department to appeal cancer ruling in Pakistan slams Indian attacks. Good evening. The Gauteng Health Department says it's been granted leave to appeal a High Court judgment and order relating to the provision of treatment for cancer patients. In March, the High Court in Johannesburg declared as unlawful and unconstitutional a failure by the department to provide radiation oncology services to patients who are on the backlog list. The Cancer Alliance says this was despite Gauteng Treasury ring-fencing